Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. That was awesome. Wait. Yeah, thank you. What's up, everybody? Artistic Freedom episode 71. I know you can't believe it. 71 episodes. This is great. Joshua Ray Farmer, your host here in Clovis, California. Why do we do this show? We do this show to answer your questions. If you have questions, I have answers. Usually they're tattoo related, or at least usually I think they're going to be tattoo related. And then you guys ask questions that are definitely not tattoo related, and that's what makes the show exciting. The reason I do this show is so I can smoke a cigar. What do we got here? I never know who these people are. They're signatures, and they're like impossible to read. So whoever that feller is, sorry for the dirty hands, whoever that fellow is, that's who we're smoking tonight. So it's a good excuse for me to smoke, and it's a good excuse for me to, not that I need really an excuse, but it's a good excuse for me to drink. Check this shit out. You guys have probably seen this on the show. It's a favorite. Me and Dan, my cuz, I think he was on last episode just as a caller, and this is actually what we drank. So that is coming in loud and clear tonight. As always, if the audio and the video and everything is coming in through loud and clear, send me that thumbs up so that I know that that's what it means. You guys like it from your end. Your end's coming in loud and clear, nice and hot. Thank you, Heidi, for signing that. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for being on here as usual. Let's see what we got. We got Casey. Of course, we got Casey. We got Heidi. Let's take a look here. Looks like Brody Jade is on. Tahwani is on here. Let's see if Sis is on here. Sis on here? Usually she's on here, but it doesn't look like she's on here at the moment. Let's take a look here. We've got a lot of flags coming in. Who doesn't like those every once in a while? You know what I mean? Christy, what's up? Good to see you on here. Christy, it was cool to meet you at the party. If you guys didn't go to the party, we had a paint night just a few weeks ago. It was awesome. There was a lot of people and good times. Guess what? Not only were they good times, let's get this up louder. Coming in hot. You guys ready for this? Here's your volume. So we did the paint night. It was a success. We talked about that before, but we're also doing something actually coming up soon that quite a few of you folks, let's get this lined up. Quite a few of you folks have, there we go, have joined and bought tickets. And I mean, we can't really be sold out because we could just buy more pumpkins, but we have a lot of people coming to this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think it fits all the way on the screen here. Let's see. Let's get it smaller. There we go. And then move it. How come it doesn't move? Technical difficulties. Bear with me. So anyway, this is what we're doing. Pumpkin carving contest. We actually have, last show I mentioned it. I wanted Alyssa to come. Alyssa's one of my favorite clients, and she has a monster sleeve that I have done. It's actually, her whole arm is the monsters, and it's just come out so well. Let's get this cigar lit. It's come out so well. She's such an awesome person. She's a lot of fun. She's actually bringing the fam, and she's going to do the pumpkin carving contest with us. So quite a few of you folks have already bought tickets. That's great. For those of you who haven't, you might be out of luck. If you don't buy them in time, you can still show up, but you'll be the loser that shows up late, or maybe fashionably late. Who knows? That's how I like to do it. There we go. Smoke this bad boy. So this contest will be fun. If you guys miss it, you're going to be sad that you did. If you go to it, you're going to be happy that you did. And yeah, we're going to have a great time. Music, drinks, snacks, pumpkins, guts, fun times, good company. That's right. There we go. Casey's saying that's better. So apparently I'm loud and clear now. Casey, yes, 122 proof. Speaking of 122 proof, don't mind if I do. Wait, let's see if we can get you guys some ASMR. Who doesn't like that every once in a while, right? Since you're all so enjoying the evening with me. That wasn't bad. That was not bad. Okay, here we go. This is probably the part that I look forward to most. I got my toolkit. I got my questions ready that you guys asked, and I got my answers queued up. And I just Google the answers, not authentic or anything. I just tell you guys what you want to hear. You know that. But this is it right here. You guys see me do this every time. Isn't that nice? Isn't that wonderful? So episode 71, we're going to kick it off. If you guys have questions, you know what to do. Thank you for being patient. Thanks for joining me as always and asking your questions, sending them in, or getting here spicy in the comments section below. Maybe I should just use this voice. Let's see this for a while, see how long that'll last. It's very relaxing. Hi, Angela May. Thanks for being on here. If there's any newcomers, new callers, long-time listeners, no-time callers, you guys chime in. Get in the comment section, ask questions, get spicy, communicate with each other, do what you have to do, like it, follow it, emoji it, whatever. Have a good time. You know what to do. Don't be silly. Casey says, have one for me. Don't mind if I do. Whew. That's some serious stuff. Thanks, bookers. There we go. So I'm going to get into the first question, and maybe it will kick off. You never know. Sometimes this show, I think last show, episode 70, we asked one question, or somebody asked a question, I responded, and it turned into the whole show for the most part. It was epic. If you want to know what the question was, you got to go back and watch. So watch episode 71 or 70, and you'll get that feedback. Okay, here we go. So first question. This is a good one because it's pertaining to the pumpkin night that's coming up, the good times. So the question is Friday's event a costume event? So I actually don't think we ever put it on. Let's take a look here. I don't think we ever put it on the flyer, so some of you may not know. It's not necessarily, I believe, a costume event. Let's zoom in. What does this say down here? Let's take a look. You know what? Amber put this together. She's doing awesome. If you guys didn't meet her, she's super rad. You should definitely be meeting her at the event. She's just really cool. So yeah, I don't see it on there. 2 cocktails, tickets include pumpkin. Okay, so no, we didn't necessarily put it on there that it's going to be a pumpkin carving night with costumes. But come on, it's October and it's an event. So yes, dress just for success. We're not necessarily doing like a pumpkin carving night costume party slash, let's say a costume contest is what I'm trying to say. But if you want to dress up and you want to have a good time, then that's what you should do, 100%. I think most people are coming dressed up, so that is a good question. I thank you, Facebooker, for asking. What's up, No Town? Thanks for being on here. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Beth, what's up? Thanks for watching. Okay, so let's get into the next question. So the first one being, where did that go? The first one is Friday's event a costume event? And the answer is it's a costume event. I didn't advertise it, but lo and behold, take a look. There it is. Okay, next question. We're going to ask this from Facebook. But I guess this is needs clarification. The next question is: are you getting dressed up in a different costume for Friday? So, are you getting dressed up in a different costume for Friday? I'm assuming this person's not liking the costume that I had previously, which was whatever. If you were there, you'd know. Will I have a different costume? Yes, the answer is yes. So I will be dressing up and partaking in the festivities. You should also be partaking in the festivities. Okay. All right, next question. I have to screen some of these. Sometimes you folks, I swear. Totally dig it, though. Totally dig it. No, I'm a grown man. Nothing I can't handle. Oh, often, not questions. This is a statement. So stinking handsome. Well. What do you know? Just kidding. Speaking of handsome, if you guys see Linda, tell her she's my favorite. Linda, if you're out there and you're listening, just know it. Next question, also coming from Facebook. In a man's perspective, okay, this went from like real easy to answer to like super hard to answer. I need to get a little deeper into this glass to answer this shit. Okay, Casey's saying, okay, I was worried. I'm guessing she's talking about some of the viewers that aren't quite showing up at the moment. Don't worry, everybody will be here. Everybody who's supposed to be here is here. What you will be for us? Wait, what? Okay. I'm trying to read your comments. Guys, send questions if you have questions. Girls, if you have questions, let's do it. The next question that's coming up is a very interesting one, and I will read it now from Facebooky. In a man's perspective, how can women work on being more supportive? I think from a man's perspective is probably going to be the same as a woman's perspective. It's a man's perspective. So, in a man's perspective, how can a woman work on being more supportive? So, that's a good one. You guys should chime in on this one. This one's going to be this will be a good one. This is lengthy. Let's answer this pretty thoroughly. If you guys are ready for it, jump in. So, from a man's perspective, how can a woman work on being more supportive? Well, just like being supportive for anybody, listen, pay attention, be encouraging, be loving, be caring, be gentle, be patient. I just heard somebody describing something today that I thought was interesting. He was actually describing Jesus and his character in the Bible and how easy it is to forget this part of his message, which is to be kind and to be kind even to the criminals, even to the prostitutes, even to the the homeless, the downtrodden, the outcasts. Oftentimes, I mean, really, even his group of bandits, his 12 disciples, really were outlaws. So, you're saying how can a woman be more more supportive from a man's perspective? I think it's really just showing tenderness, love, and care. You guys should definitely chime in and see if there's a word or something you can think of that's going to support this question. But from a man's perspective, I think a way a woman can be more supportive is simply showing her nurturing side as much as possible. That'd be my answer. Be as nurturing as possible, as caring and loving as possible. That's very unique to women, and they do it way better than us men do. So, for example, if I was sick and I wanted someone to care for me or needed someone to care for me, I promise you I would much rather a woman do it. I promise. They're so much better at it. And something about their tender love and care is so much different than a man. So whether you're a father or a brother or whatever it is, I think a woman has a superpower in regards to that. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So Casey's answer on here is by listening. So I totally agree. I think you could be more supportive by listening, but that's not really necessarily supportive, especially for a man. What he needs is action. And so listen so that you can best take action. And I think that's true for both ways. So how can a woman be more supportive towards a man and from a man's perspective? We need to eat. We do dangerous, scary things. We got to repair stuff. We hurt ourselves often. We die earlier. There's all kinds of things that we do that we could receive maybe a little more love from and for. And I'm not talking about just relationships. I'm saying your dad, your brothers, your cousins, uncles, whoever, your coworkers, boss, friends, whatever. Christy's got it right. Perfect answer. That homemade chicken soup. 100%. I do like this question, though, because I think a lot of times men and women both get confused on what the others are looking for or want. We just think that it's so abstract. It's actually really easy. Just look from a simple perspective. What is it that a man does every day? And what is it that a woman does every day? And especially, what do they do primarily? Well, if you want to be supportive, make sure that whatever you're doing supports that behavior. So if your man's going out to work outside in the weather, whether it's hot or cold, then you can always, if it's hot outside, make sure that he has what he needs to drink something that's cool. And if it's cold outside, make sure the opposite is true. And I think that's a simple gesture. I was actually talking about this just yesterday. Actually, it was me and Amber Graham. We were talking about this in the shop after we were closing. And I was just mentioning like how simple if you're a woman out there wondering like how to make your man happy, most men will agree. Actually, I don't know a man that would disagree. And even a lot of women understand this too, that do this well. It's simple. It's the simplest shit. It's not just gifts and buying things and paying for things. That's not it. Not if you want to make your man feel appreciated. I'll say it's not just thoughtfulness either. It's things that are practical. He wants to eat. Fill up his belly. Don't ask him. It's noon. He wants to eat. It's 5, 6 o'clock. He wants dinner. It's morning. He wants something to drink. He wants something to get his day started. Fresh. I mean, this isn't rocket science, but like fresh pressed clothes and sheets and things put away nice and tidy and attended to. That stuff goes so far, and it's so simple. Like us single dudes, we have to do that every day anyway, right? We're doing that on our own, and a lot of single women are doing it on their own. But I think what's easily forgotten is how much those small gestures that are not difficult, right? You're not going to sweat by folding clothes and making a sandwich, and being a little more attentive. And those things go so far, like so far that it's almost kind of ridiculous how much a sandwich on a plate with something cold to drink or something warm to drink, depending on if it's hot or cold outside, whatever the weather calls for. It's easy to forget. Easy, obviously, very easy for most people. I think everybody did forget that goes so far. If you're a woman professing your love to a man and trying to win him over or woo him or whatever it may be, I promise you right now that if you've never made him a sandwich, rubbed his back, or taken care of him in a way that he didn't have to ask for, he's not taking you serious, and vice versa is true. So there's certain things that we need from the opposite side. So from a man's perspective, what can a woman do and be more supportive? Well, there's a few things. There you go. There's the answers. If you guys have any answers to that, go ahead and feel free to share them. Casey says, less words, more action. That's exactly it. Christy says, ice water is my thing. Love language. Smart. That is super smart. Want to see differently and open mind when processing information. So Beth is also mentioning to listen. And I think verbal communication is very important. It's incredibly important. But nothing skips action. So never forget simple stuff, guys. Simple stuff. Sitting him down and making sure he takes a second to just feel like you're trying to mend him, right? Women are really good comforters and menders and healers. So be that. I would say that's a better answer than my first one. Is be a healer. Give him a little bit of healing. Just a little bit. It goes so fucking far. Yeah, and see, Casey knows it. Those back scratches till they fall asleep, get them every time. There you go. Wendy says she can bring peace and comfort. Totally agree, and that's kind of what I was saying with, being attentive and being loving and supportive. But bringing peace and comfort, goes so far. Most women, I'll be honest with you, in my experience, most women are not that way at all. They're very argumentative. They're combative. They're needy. Not all. I know some women that aren't that way at all. But most women fall into that category, and it's very, not just unattractive, it's just unpleasant. So people don't want to deal with that. Christy's on here laughing at the sandwiches or giggling. And, dude, who doesn't like a good Sammy? Seriously, like that simple. White bread, mayonnaise, bologna, turkey. I don't care. White bread, peanut butter, and jelly. Don't care. White bread and butter. I don't give a shit. A piece of toast. It goes a long, long way, especially for us men that aren't getting it at all. So but if you find a man who's not getting it at all and you do these things, you're going to light up his life. So Tawani is also saying it just like I am in terms of just being supportive and taking care of them in general. And you're right. I think women are better at being caretakers, right? And that's not a bad thing, but at being nurturing. Just be nurturing. That's a wonderful thing. Heidi's on here also saying always lift them up, stand beside them, feed them, care for them, be the person that encourages them, reach his dreams, and just love them. There you go. That's a big one. You can't really top that. Wow, that came in hot. So that's a good one. I totally agree. That's definitely it. Being supportive, of course, and encouraging is always a big deal. And I would say that's, again, true for both men and women, and loving them and trying to help them reach their dreams and their goals. And lifting them up, that's very important. I would say out of all those listed, Heidi, I'd say feed them. Feed them. If you want a man to take you serious, again, I'm just speaking generally here for lots of men. If you want a man to take you serious, even if he doesn't tell you this and doesn't actually know this, maybe he doesn't have enough experience, which most men don't. Well, they have enough experience to know. Just feed him. If you haven't brought him food and you want him to take you serious, note right now, here's your sign. Matter of fact, I don't think, that'll just fall on deaf ears for the most part, guaranteed. Rochelle's saying peace and comfort is everything. Totally agree. And that takes action to create. So you definitely got to get the environment going. Rochelle's very good at that I am aware of. And Derek has professed. Ryan saying, with this, though, the answer can be different from every man. Yeah, you can, no, sort of. Ryan, you're right if you're getting really detailed, but generally speaking and broadly speaking, no, I think we're all pretty much the same. What man doesn't, want to be cared for and amended by a woman? If you were to pick someone to care for you in the hospital, unless it's a surgeon or something, but you really want that daily care, you really want it to be a dude, I doubt it. I think if you had the choice, you would pick the woman. Even if they were both just as competent, I think you would pick the woman. They just have a better side for that. And Wendy, this is probably going to be the comment of the night. Women have been brainwashed to be boss biatches. 100%. I'm with you on that one. And it sucks because it doesn't do them or anybody else any service. Ian just got out of the Joe Rogan comedy show. It was awesome. Hello, Artistic Freedom fam. What is up, Ian? Ian, it's good to see you. What's up? So you said you watched the show, Joe Rogan comedy show. I'm guessing you saw it live. That's awesome. But glad you're here because this is much funnier. That was good. Rochelle saying, Wendy, the one thing is that you can still be a boss bitch and loving, comforting, and peaceful. I would say that's kind of true, but I think boss bitch is a totally different term. I personally don't think you can be a boss bitch and loving, comforting, and peaceful. I don't. I think boss bitch is a very specific term to women who are really bossy, argumentative, competitive, and typically very unpleasant and very proud of it too. And I'm not saying girls that are successful. I mean, I don't like the word anyway, boss bitch, because people think they're bosses and they don't have a single employee and they don't run anything. Even if they're doing it on your own, you're not a boss, right? Matter of fact, technically, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have employees or people working for you and you're not training or teaching anybody, you're actually not a boss. Your clients are your boss. So technically, you're the opposite of a boss. But so what I'm pointing out is the term that people use to describe a certain sort of almost Karen, if you will. It's kind of like feminism. It sounds good, and girls want to admit that they are. Like, of course, they're feminists. They believe in the support of women. But feminism, unfortunately, is not. It's been hijacked, and that's not exactly what it means. So it's kind of the same thing, like with the boss bitch term. Definitely no positive to it. At least that's my perspective. Sure. Kathy, what's up? Thanks for being on here. Good to see you. She's saying it has to go both ways in a partnership. It has to go both ways in a partnership. 100%. Absolutely. Usually in a partnership, it's not one person. It's not two people doing everything 50-50. Tell me if I'm wrong. Kathy, you can chime in. Rochelle, you guys in relationships on here, married and long-term, let me know if you guys agree that it doesn't turn out to be you do 50-50 of everything, right? Like it's 50-50 in here. Everything you do as individuals, his job, your position, his position, skill-wise, whatever it may be, it's not 50-50, right? But somebody holds down one thing more than the other. Everybody uses their, it's weird to me, bring up these sort of ideas because I would think that it's kind of obvious, but maybe not to everybody. But what do you guys think about that? It's not necessarily 50-50 in everything that you do, like equally do this together. It's more that everybody has their own strengths and you bring that to the table and complement each other, which is my favorite way of putting it. Casey is saying being a mother to a son, you should show them how a woman should treat them. I do agree that if you have a woman that's a lady and that is classy and that is respectful and that is nurturing and caring, that will set them up for being conditioned for that in the future. 100%. Makes me worry for these young kids today who have mothers who are the boss bitches that are online selling themselves. And I mean this with all respect. I really feel for those boys having to grow up, and girls too, having to grow up with that environment that is not setting precedents in a positive way. There's no way you can convince me otherwise. Okay. Ian's saying live in Austin. So Ian's in Austin. That's cool. Hopefully it's nice weather there. Right now it's fucking beautiful here. It's so beautiful. I have all my doors open. It's like this wind tunnel coming through. It's fucking awesome. I'll drink to that. Who doesn't want to drink to that? I see what Rochelle's saying. She says, to me, boss bitch is someone who is in control of herself and emotionally mature enough to follow through with getting shit done so her man can rest. Yeah, I get that. If that's your term, I technically would just call that a wife or a partner or a lover or whatever title you want to call it. But a boss bitch, I think it has a different connotation. But maybe it's a semantics game. Wendy says, boss bitch equals brainwashed to never need a man. They are trained to run men. I just think that that's a better accurate interpretation of what the actual word means. I'm glad that Rochelle doesn't see the word boss bitch as that, because that just shows that she's not that way in terms of being brainwashed to never need a man and trained to run one. I think that's cool. But I think, Wendy, in what you're saying in terms of your definition there, you must have Googled it, because I couldn't have said it better myself. Yes, Brody Jade, I'm with you. There we go. Maybe that's the first. Maybe that's actually the best way to put it. Sorry if that's coming in real loud, guys. These sound effects can get me sometimes. Or it's just the Wikisy. So I totally agree. I think a woman calling herself a bitch is a little crazy. I do. I just think, just like a dude calling himself, I don't know, what would be a bad word, like a sissy or a pussy? Like, I'm a that's crazy. A dude referring to himself as a pussy bitch. That would be awesome. And then claiming that it makes him a good husband because he's attentive. Anyway, that would just be hilarious. I like that. Kathy says, it has to work both ways in a partnership. Sometimes I give more because at the moment I can do it and want to do it. There you go. I totally agree. I think that's how it works, and that's what people miss. They think that it has to be like, you make 100,000, I'll make 100,000. You do the dishes this week, I'll do it next week. I take out the trash, you do the laundry. I just think that's a bad way to look at it. It'd be like breaking down on the side of the road and then needing to change a tire. And as you change that tire, you realize, oh wait, I did this last time. It's her turn now. And imagine your man coming back inside a car and saying, whoa, it's your turn. And then the wife says, well, this isn't a joke. I'm just making up a scenario in my own head because I can. And then the wife says, well, it's raining this time, though. I know you did it last time, but last time it wasn't raining, so you can still do it this time. And he goes, no, I changed the tire last time. It's your turn to get out here, even if it's raining. It's not my choice that it's raining. That's God's plan. So it would just be amazing to see that happen, because that's silly. And we don't have to, it's not 50-50, right? That's kind of what Kathy's agreeing to, is that it's you bring different things to the table, and sometimes it leans all on one person, sometimes back on the other. It depends on the scenario. And that's the point of a team, right? To make up for other people's shortcomings or losses. When you get married, it says till death do us part in sickness and health. Yeah, nobody seems to mean that anymore. Wendy is saying, totally a negative aspect for a feminine woman. Our place is needing a man who fights the wars, who does the hardest jobs in the harshest situations. Wendy, thank you for saying that, because I'm going to tell you guys something. I myself have never served in the military. But I have a lot of friends and a lot of people and family members who have, and a lot of us have. And I can tell you right now, especially with the world events going on right now, look at Ukraine, right? Men are not allowed to leave the country, but women are getting shoveled out and kids are getting sent off, and they're going safe and scot-free. And I say scot-free because even though they might not be living in the world they want to, they're not getting murdered, and they're not getting destroyed, and they're not getting trampled on. And I don't think anybody has a problem with it, right? And I know they don't, because nobody's bringing it up or talking about it. It's just expected. If it was reversed, it'd be insane, right? If we left all the women and children to fight and the men left. So we know we're not the same. And we know we don't do the same things. We know it's not 50-50. It's this delusional clown world that people live in that think it should be or that it is. Which is insane, really. To think that we're equals and that, we don't have our positions, that we don't complement each other is insane. So in regards to what Wendy's saying, we all say, I hear it all the time, that women will say they don't need a man, which is crazy. It's insane. You can only say that because of the comforts men have provided in society and the advancements that we have, the technological advancements, and the modern day comforts, that a woman could say such a thing, which have all been developed and maintained, ran, and kept up by men. And that being said, there's no point in doing all those things if there aren't women to do them for, right? There's no Ukraine to fight for if the women aren't scot-free, if all the women are gone and the whole place is blown up and the kids are gone, and then what are the men fighting for? Right? This is a perfect balance. It's just the way it is. And so women can say all they want that they don't need a man, but I'm going to tell you right now, if shit popped off like that here, they'd real quickly realize, oh shit, we need men, and we need badass men, and they need to stop playing video games, and they need to get outside in the real world and train. They need to be tough. They need to be strong. They need to be healthy. They need to be skilled and aware. They need to be well put together, God-fearing, and capable. Fuck, you can't write that down. So my point is, yeah, who fights the wars? We need it. It's not 50-50, guys. It never is. It's an illusion. It's only illusion afforded to those who live in such comforts. Dambria's on here. What's up, Dambria? Good to see you. Give you some love there. Okay, let's scroll down and catch up to y'all on here. Thanks for sending the flags. Of course, as always, we love to see them. Casey, I agree. This weather did actually change my... It was so wonderful to be outside today. I just walked outside and I spent a lot of time outside just standing there today. It was so nice. Yes, Beth, you got it 100% right. I totally agree. Brody's saying, I'm not seeing Rochelle's comments pop up on my end. It sounds like a you problem. It's probably a settings thing. Rochelle's coming from Facebook, so some of you guys probably aren't. So I'm reading some of the comments you're not seeing because some of those comments are coming from Facebook and some of you are on YouTube and vice versa. Which is why it's always better to be on YouTube. If everybody's on YouTube, the show works not only better, but it's just better for everybody and to be involved and participate. If you guys haven't sent me a thumbs up yet, right? We're 30 minutes in, almost 40. Send me a thumbs up. I only have 6 of them on this stream so far. Send a comment. If you're just watching, sitting in the background, and you're being a creeper, totally cool. You're more than welcome. But we see you. Not only do we see you, but we want you to join. We want you to participate, and that's what makes this fun. So if you're there and you guys have nothing to say or nothing to ask, and you're just observing, and you're just a fly on the wall, that's great. But chime in. Send us a thumbs up. Send us some flags. Give us some emojis, and or longtime listeners, no-time callers. Go ahead and let us know where it is that you're watching from. We give us some details. Are you in bed? Are you at work? Are you lying to your boss and hiding in the closet? What are you doing? Where are you at? Where y'all at? Let us know. Ryan says that would be a topic, selling themselves online. Yeah, it's probably one of the most telling signs that the world is, especially our modern world that we live in here in the West, is falling apart. Now that we have mothers and daughters, sisters, and these women selling themselves in such a degrading way, so rampant now. Even if you're not making money off it, still putting your body on display for the world to see and getting likes and views, making yourself feel good about it. It's just bad for these young ladies. It's such a bad example, and we're doing a pretty piss poor job with it. Okay, Jessica, thanks for being on here. I don't know if I can read that whole thing, but I'll kind of skim through. 50-50, so just said it was a nurturer, homemaker, breadwinner. Just read through that. I didn't even actually know you could write that much. That's awesome. So you said, but I like my independence, but I feel like my independence is intimidating. Men say they want strong women, but do they? Of course we want strong women, but we want strong women, feminine women, strong in their femininity. Key to understand what you just wrote. I would read the whole thing, but it's a lot and I can't post it on the screen. I actually didn't know you could write that much. That's cool. So you're saying that another thing you said is, I made the money for the bacon, bought it and cooked it, but I feel like my independence is intimidating. Men say they want strong women, but do they? No, and women don't want weak men. So if you're outperforming him, of course you don't want that either. Women don't want a man they can outperform, especially in every way. Man's job is to provide and protect. If you can't do that, it's very difficult for women. Very, very difficult. I don't know if you guys know the divorce rate for war, but when the women get sent off to be saved and the men stay and fight, divorce rate, look it up yourself. It's high. If it lasts for over a year, it's like 75%. So there you go. You're also saying men, they want strong women, but do they? Men say they want strong women. Do we? I don't know. I haven't dated a man. I want emotionally strong. I want an emotionally strong woman, of course. I would like a nurturing woman, and I would like a feminine woman. That's key in all this conversation is femininity. It's not feminine to provide. And it's okay that you do it, and it's great, but don't expect that to necessarily be attractive to a man. If it's not feminine, then and men want something feminine, imagine us getting feminine. It's not attractive, is it? I don't think there's a girl on here that thinks it's attractive for a man to be feminine. So that's a good argument to make there. Beth, that's a good point. You should never be keeping score in a relationship. I 100% agree. I think if you're keeping score on anything, it's not something you actually love. I mean, could you imagine, like, how many times have you said I love you compared to your kids? Does anybody know? Like, if I ask you, how many times have you told your kids I love you? And how many times have they told you? Do you think it's even? I would assume it's probably not if you're a parent and you love your kids. Not everybody says it, but if you do say it to your kids, you've probably said a lot more to them than they have you. Just out of sheer numbers, they couldn't speak for the first couple years of their life. So I would say that it's probably not about keeping score. And if you're keeping score, the reason why none of us know how many times we've told our kids that, whether or not we've said it more than them, is because it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're doing your best, right? That's all that matters. That's unconditional. So it's totally different. Brody says, women that say that are liars. I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but it'd be interesting to find out. Kathy's saying, Wendy Lewis, our place. F no. And I know many women who have fought wars and many women who have tough jobs. You're 100% right. I think plenty of women, it's not that women can't do these things. Nobody's disagreeing that women can or can't do these things. It's just the question becomes not a moral question, but a literal question of, in regards to, let's say, men, do men find it attractive and do they want a woman who's, like somebody had said earlier, Jessica had mentioned it, that men, they say they want a strong woman, but do they, was her question. And we don't want a woman who's masculine. It's not attractive. There's nothing attractive about a tough, scarred woman who's, playing the masculine role. I'm not saying don't do it, and they shouldn't, especially if they're single and the man abandons them or things fall apart. But what Kathy's saying is she's saying, I know many women who have fought wars and many who have tough jobs. That's true. That is true. But in the end, if the question is whether or not men find it attractive, is a totally different conversation. And you can't have it, you can't determine what people find attractive. I think that's more biological than it is anything else. But also in regards to that, in terms of many women who have fought wars and many who have tough jobs, sure, there are some, but it's not the overwhelming majority, and it never has been, and hopefully it never will be. So we like to protect our women, keep them safe, and, well, it's really nice to have mothers and people who care for you and nurture you. But yes, some women have done those things, but it's never the majority, right? Like construction work, and for example, it's like 90% men. Workplace deaths, so it's like, I think 80 or 90% men. It's just always going to be that way. Military is like primarily men. Special forces, and especially the elite forces, almost completely all men, which is, I don't see a bad thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And then when Wendy's saying is, in her response, I don't think Kathy's necessarily saying she doesn't need a man in her life. She has wonderful men in her life, but can you believe what you want, do you? I think it's a matter of probably text not being long enough to be able to converse like I can from my end. There we go. Rochelle's sending it. Let's do it. A little bit of a party here. Yes, I will say that there's brave men and women, 100%, that protect this country and that make it what it is. I don't think we have an America without men. I also don't think we have an America worth fighting for without women. I also don't think anything works, just to lay it all to rest, even though I'm totally into this conversation because I like this kind of topic. None of this exists. Nothing that we're doing exists without men and without women. None of it. So we need both, right? We're two halves of a whole. That's a fact. Matter of fact, the Bible even says this. Like, why did God create woman in the Bible? And in the terms of the story of the Bible, who knows why God created women in the Bible? What did he say they were? I'll wait for your answers. Casey says, I would love to have a strong and honest, reliable man. Nothing wrong with admitting it, especially if you have it. It's weird when people have it and they don't admit it. Or they don't nurture it, I guess. Kathy's saying she's been married 37 years, ups and downs, and doing it together. 100%. And it does take a strong woman to do that. I think in terms of saying a strong woman, a strong man, I think it's two different things. I think a strong feminine woman and a strong masculine man are two different things, 100%. Like I can hold it down. I don't need a man. I was mistaken. So mistaken. So Christy's saying, I admit I used to feel like I couldn't hold it down. I don't need a man. I was mistaken. So mistaken. I'm not sure if you're saying you don't need a man. I just think that it's bad terminology because every woman needs a man. You can't live without men. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And it's weird that we have that conversation because it's really degrading, especially to your boys and to our youth today. It's really degrading to say you don't want a man. And I'll be honest with you, I hate that phrase in general because every woman needs a man. You don't have a bunch of men running around saying they don't need women because we absolutely do. But it's just a poisonous part of society today that has ripped us apart. It's not serving us well. Garrett, thanks for being on here. It's good to see you. I don't know if you've ever been on the stream before, but welcome, brother. Okay. Let's see here. Ryan's giving us the thumbs up. I don't know what to. I'm a little behind on the comments. So I'm going to kind of speed up here a little bit. Oh, Christy's saying, I'm doing it, but I don't like it. So, look, a man wants a woman wants a man, and that's how we work best. That's how we complete each other. That's just a fact. We always do better when we're together, and none of us are here because men and women don't like each other. We're all here because, obviously, we do. And there's nothing wrong with admitting it. And I don't know why it's so controversial, but today it is. And I think it's because they poisoned us, because it disrupts us and distracts us and keeps us weak. When our families are broken, which all of us are here, every single one of us are here because of a man and a woman, which is weird to say because 20 years ago, none of us, Jessica maybe knows this, Kathy definitely knows this, we didn't have these conversations. We didn't need them. They weren't necessary. But today they're more necessary than ever. And they seem absurd to someone like me, which is probably why people like us need to speak up more. Kimberly's on here. Thank you for joining us on YouTube, Kimberly. Good to see you. Guys, if you have questions, you're just watching, keep up with us and at least let us know that you're on here and say what's up, send us a thumbs up, whatever. But either way, if you have questions, then we're more than happy to engage with you. Jessica's saying, I think boss bitch gets confused with alpha. I'm extremely feminine, but also very alpha. Maybe because I've never had a man to take that alpha role. It's usually what the case is. Most women today are more leaning towards, I actually admit, I think that in terms of physical capability, men outperform women all the time. That's just biological facts. That's not my opinion. It's not how I feel. That's a fact. Men outperform women physically all the time across the table. That being said, when we have weaker men, which we do today, systematically and systemically, what happens is that women have to make up for it. And I look at an age-old story you can think of, a caveman going out to doing the hunt, which is what happens. Sure, there's some people that will argue that women did it too. Fine, there's always the argument women did it too, but they were not 50% of the hunters. That was never the case, unless they had to be. It's in the men that do it so women can be the mothers and the caregivers and the thing worth fighting for. So you get that alpha that goes out and does these things. Well, sometimes he dies. Sometimes he doesn't come home. Sometimes he gets lost or he gets killed or he gets enslaved, whatever it is, or whatever, hurt. And maybe he doesn't come home. And the women have that biological ability to step up and make up for that loss, which I think is celebrated. It is celebrated today. Everybody knows it. And it's great that a woman can do that. It's wonderful, but it's not optimal. It's great and it's wonderful, but it's definitely not optimal. Just like a man can be feminine, but it's not optimal, right? You want him to be masculine. So in terms of the alpha, a lot of women are very alpha today, but I believe that a woman's alpha is adjustable. A woman is waiting to throw in the towel until a man picks it up and says, I'm going to let my balls drop and be the man so that you can be the feminine. And it's much more enjoyable for women. Whereas a lot of women will be with the man who clearly doesn't display alpha qualities, and she will hold on to that alpha towel because he does not deserve it. And that's a woman's position to do, to make sure that these men find out what their flaws are and either step up and develop or fucking bail. Meaning the woman's going to have to bail because if she wants to throw in that alpha towel and can't, it's going to be very painful for her to stick around for someone who just never picks it up. Some days I feel like a boss biatch. I just hate the word because I'm forced to hold it down alone. Look, guys, I know what we're saying, and it is a semantics game to some degree, but nobody's doing it alone, right? That's a poisonous thought. Well, none of us are doing this alone. I'm not doing it alone. I've not done anything alone. You're not doing it alone. Sure, there's some things we'll have to suffer alone in our own minds, but it's not life. in life, we are not alone. None of us are. Maybe in moments, maybe in times, maybe in some sort of specific ways. But overall, that's just a poisonous mindset. It's not true, and we're not alone. We're doing this together. All of us are, and there's no other way to do it. We need each other in every way just as much as you think we don't. Trust me. Rochelle says, I want a man, not a ladyboy. Well, then don't go to Taiwan. I think it's Taiwan. Bangkok. Something like that. Maybe both. Damber says, like I can provide, but I'm a cry about it. Don't know what that means. Brody says, why do they want to be stronger than a man? Women want to be stronger than men because men are the pinnacle of strength. So there's something to compete with there. Men don't compete with women in terms of strength because women are inferior to men physically, which means men don't ever say, I can do anything a woman can do. That's why you never hear that. But women will say all the time, I can do anything a man can do, because that's a step up in terms of physical performance. There's a reason why men don't say, I don't need a woman. I'm a strong, independent man. I don't need a woman. Men don't say that. It's not a thing. I fear the day they do, because that's a scary day if that ever comes. We got other problems if that ever comes. That's when we're pretty toast at that point. Let's see if we can totally destroy this cigar right now. Let's get it. Sometimes you got to fucking torch them. Get a little whiskey in there. Okay, let's go. Thank you guys for participating. Hopefully nobody's getting their feelings hurt so much that they can't keep their wits about them, because it's a shame if we can't. Not to be necessarily super safe space, but as long as we can be constructive, I'm totally down. So let's go. Okay, let's go further down. I'm kind of scrolling in the comments here. Damber says, and I will never pull child support ever. Well, I mean, it's your personal opinion. You don't have to. It's your choice. Heidi says, men and women are strong in different ways, that they complement each other. They make each other stronger. 100%. I have not yet to find somebody, by the way, telling me what it is that God said a woman's role was or position was in the Bible. I know not everybody is necessarily into those stories, but whatever. I think there's some more ancient wisdom in there that surpasses any of our individual intellect. So, again, it's just ignorance in my opinion, but everybody has their own opinion. But if nobody answers it, I will do that. But what is it that God said he made women for when he did? There we go. Someone did say it. So Kimberly, thank you very much. Kimberly says, man's helper. That's what God made women for. And the thing is about that, in today's world, everybody thinks that means inferior. But does it? Does it mean inferior if she's man's helper? Because that's literally what women were created for, is to be man's helper. Well, if that means that a woman is inferior to a man by being his helper, then why is it that God says that he is sent to help men, right? Humankind. Why is it that God, that Jesus and the Holy Spirit help men? If being man's helper is so degrading, which I don't see why it is, should be the opposite. It should be empowering. Then if that was so degrading and not empowering, then why would God be man's helper as well? Why would he send his only begotten son to be man's helper? How could that possibly be degrading? How could God possibly put himself in a position lower than man to help them? Or is it above or even equal to, which is what I think a woman is. It's his other half. It's not his better half. It's not the worst half. It's the other half. It's the completion of the puzzle, if you will. Okay, so some of these are out of context for me because I'm scrolling at different speeds in which you guys are commenting, so forgive me a little. Ryan, thank you. I did ask for a thumbs up. If you're watching this and haven't given me one, do it now. Now's the time. Let's see here. Yes, Beth, I like what you said. Taking it all the way down to the biological roots. If men didn't want women and women didn't want men, we'd be extinct. But nobody's saying they don't want men or women. They're saying they don't need them. And I think that's worse. So wanting them seems like it's an option. Not needing them and saying you don't need one, that's even worse. That's disgusting. It's terrible. I'm done with hearing it, and I'll be the spokesperson for men and women alike and little boys out there that are being told by women that they don't need them, that they're not necessary, that they're disposable, even while setting off to war to fucking die. and telling them they don't need them. It's bullshit. It's a lie. It's crap. I have zero tolerance for it, and it's disgusting. So that's my feelings. Okay, we're getting through the questions here. This is cool. See, sometimes we can get onto a subject. We're only 4 questions in. We can get on a subject, and we can just keep going with it. So that's really cool, and I really like this part of it. So thank you guys for participating and joining me with this part of it, with the comments and the responses. It's awesome. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. If you are, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, send me some hearts, do some emojis, whatever. Say it, write it, text it, thumbs up, love, heart, whatever. Let's send some love. Let me know that you guys are enjoying this show and that you appreciate it as much as I do. Okay. Yes, Danbury is saying, all I've ever wanted in this life is to be a great wife and mother. I want to be the homemaker and the best partner to my husband. It's crazy how growing up, that was like the thing, right? Like everybody wanted that. Like at least that was my experience growing up. That seemed to be normal. It seems like it's a battle now to even get people to admit it. It's crazy. Danbury, you're right. Submit does not mean a slave. That is not what it means at all. That's why submit and slave are 2 different words, because they mean 2 totally different things. And Heidi, you are right. To be a man's helper and companion. 100%. Matter of fact, if you think about it, God made light and he said it was good. God only made one thing and didn't say that it was good. Actually, I don't think he said it was good. Well, he definitely didn't leave it there. God made all these things. He even gave man, individually, man, Adam, dominion over all things, all the plants and the animals and all the earth. Even with being in such a high position, he said that he wasn't complete and had to make something for him. So what the fuck does that tell you? Now, you might take this as that means men need women, women don't need men. I would say contrary. You were made to complement men, and women were made so that men were complete. You can't have it any other way. There you go. In Genesis, Beth is posting that it's not good for a man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. There you go, a helper, which take that from the, probably, I guess if it was Genesis is written in Hebrew, I believe it was written in Hebrew, probably not like Aramaic or something, but what is the word helper in the language in which it's originally from? I would love to know its definition, where its roots come from, because I bet it's a semantics game that people are getting lost with. Casey says, how is it 9 already? I feel like this just started. Casey, I'm fucking with you. Every single time we do this, actually, that's what it turns into, especially for me. I could go all night long. I also started late. I apologize for that. It does happen time to time. You know what's weird? Sometimes you guys see it. I do my cigars best I can, and still the way they smoke. It's like I gotta fight them. I think it's because I leave them here, actually at the studio, and it's very dry here. Actually, it feels really, really bad. Let's give it some love here. Give me a second. Anyway, it gets really dry in here because of the ACs and stuff, and it's the best thing to do, but I'm going to try it so I don't have to waste this bad boy because I'm enjoying it. Anyway, the humidity gets sucked out of the air by the air conditionings, and it doesn't keep these nice and humid, which, if you guys didn't know, cigars have to be kept in an environment that's the right temperature and the right humidity. Otherwise, they dry out and they don't quite smoke the same, and they're much better when they're not dried out. There we go. See if we can keep it. First glass of Booker's. Super wonderful. Lena, thanks for being on here. It's good to see you. Damer says, it's a man's world, but nothing without a woman. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually exactly know what people mean when they say it's a man's world. I'm not exactly sure, but I would say it's probably true. Here we go. Wendy is saying, bottom line, even women who feel scared by another man will say, I have a boyfriend. Why? Because it's the predator knows someone is looking after her. 100%. And humans are predators, if you guys did not know. Damber says there's rumors that the draft's going to happen, but the government only wants men. There's reasons for it. Yes, because if you send women, we fucking die because there's no one to have kids, And they're not going to make the best warriors. We need to send that in which is most useful in the said position. And it's not women. It never has been. It never will be. The only reason it could possibly be women, if you saw that, I was trying to catch a little fly going through here. It's never been women. But that's not going to be the case. And I don't see why people take offense to that. It's insane. Wait for it to happen, and you'll see it's not women. Ukrainian women are not staying behind and fighting. And it's not because they're not American women, trust me. It's because biologically, that's the way it works. Yeah, this thing's done. I wonder why. Let's see if we can do it one more. Give it a little more love. Let's try. Let's see if we can help this thing out. I want it. I want to keep it. I don't want it to die. Casey, that's not what I'm saying. I do have one. The problem is with all the ACs in here, what I was saying earlier is these things dry out because it sucks the humidity out of the air and because this place gets left alone for periods of time throughout the week. It just dries out really easy. But yes, it's something I can definitely fix. Good conversation. Thank you guys for joining me and doing this. This has been a lot of fun. Pretty soon we'll get into the comment section only for you guys here in the chat. But right now, let's go ahead and read the next one. I guess it's kind of in the same vein, even though it's coming from Instagram. It's saying, someone is saying, been seeing videos of women blatantly being disrespectful to their parents for views. Nurturing over? Question mark. Interesting. So this person is saying that they've seen a lot of women being disrespectful to their parents for views, for entertainment purposes, for likes, for whatever, for status. I've been seeing this for a long time. It started with Jackass and some of those kind of guys in the past where they were being disrespectful to old people and their parents and for views, right? So this is nothing new. But to see women doing it, I do think it's a little bit new, and it's definitely bad. And then the last part of that question was nurturing over? Question mark. No, I don't think it's over. I think it's just started. I just think we needed a wake-up call. I think things had to get way worse before they get better. So you guys know what to do. You go into the comment section, ask questions. That's what keeps the show alive. We are 1 hour in, so we got plenty of time. Hang tight. Not only do we have plenty of time, we have plenty of questions coming up. We have one more coming from Instagram, but you guys are going to have to ask them here in the comment section to keep the show alive as usual. And of course, as always, I look forward to it. We're going to take a quick break, a nice little intermission, if you will. Let's see. I'm going to try not to miss some of these comments real quick. We'll take an intermission, and then when we get back, we'll get back to your questions, comments, and the show will resume. So don't go anywhere. Let's see here. I don't know what that means. April, yep, ape? That sounds really weird. Bammer Jerry, yes, exactly, Casey. That's what I mean. They were disgusting. They were total degenerates, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree. And we loved it, unfortunately, growing up. It was preying on our youthful minds and how disrespectful we were. It was fucking gross and ugly. Didn't like it. Okay, so we're going to go to intermission. You guys hang tight. I will be back soon. This cigar gave up on me, but my whiskey didn't. So hang tight. Don't go anywhere. If you guys have questions, we will be answering them. Rochelle's saying, I love you, Joshie. Rochelle, I love you too. Christy also agreeing. Thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. Christy's saying, April, Bam's mom. Yeah, super disrespectful people. It was ugly to see. So we're going to go to intermission. You guys stay here. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. 17 viewers. If there's not 17 or more when I get back, then you're fired and we'll ban you for life and get rid of all your social media platforms. So you guys, let's take a break. You guys go to the bathroom, pour a drink, light a cigar, get cozy, turn down the lights, do whatever you have to do. Take a hot shower. I'll be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. All right, so we are back. Hopefully everything's loud and clear. Evan is behind the scenes. Evan, do you want to say what's up? Yeah, you do.
What's up?
That's right. What's up? So, so camera switcher, slip of the tongue. That's okay. So we are now in the studio. Well, we've been in the studio. Thank you guys for being patient through the break. Usually it's kind of funny sitting in this position. Usually I'm like a little bit more excited because it's like the beginning of the show when I'm sitting here. But right now we're in the middle of the show. So we're an hour in. You guys stayed put. You're still in the comment section getting spicy as usual.
Are they still there?
Yes, they are, Evan. And so everybody's still watching. We're in the comment section. We have one more. Actually, before I do anything, did I even bring it? There we go. Don't mind me. We have one more response coming through the questions. And we'll ask this now, and then we'll get into debates. But we're probably going to stay on the topic a little bit. Well, tonight's topic has turned into, do women need men? That's really the topic. What do you think, Bubba? Do women need men?
I think you just need yourself and then figure it out from there.
Yeah. So if you didn't need women, then would you be alive? No. So really, do men? That's what it's turned into, and I like that because one question, which if you guys were here before the break, one question could lead to a whole episode, which is usually the case, and I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the last question, and then we're going to join you guys. And hopefully you guys also like the set, because I got a little surprise for you if you didn't already catch the slip. So the next question is, do you think social media hurts the dynamics between men and women's relationships? So there's the question. We're going to stay on this for a little bit. Get in the comment section. Let us know. If we don't get to all of your guys' questions, try to make them shorter or ask them again on the comment section, because at this point it gets a little harder to see all your guys' comments. But we'll do our best to do that. So Lena is on here. She already answered this before I asked the question. Men and women complete each other. We all need each other. There's always a weak man that's always looking for a strong woman. There are always a weak man that always looking for a strong woman. So I don't know exactly if that's what you meant to say. But yes, men and women do complete each other. It's kind of my premise, at least. Brody J's on here saying we need one another. Well, it's a fact. You literally can't have one without the other. It doesn't exist. So that's, I think, the basis of it. Christy's saying we need the men's. Have you guys, okay, there's a couple ladies in the room. I just need like a yes or a no real quick before we cut to anybody. Have you ever noticed the lack of men's apparel or the size of the men's section in any department store ever, unless it's a specifically like work or men's store? There's nothing for men. Like, have you ever noticed that? Or is it just like, is it clear to only me because I'm looking for it? Or is it obvious to women? Yeah, they're like, yeah, we see it.
It's been obvious.
Yeah, because it's so weird. I go in, I'm like looking for clothes, and I take two steps this way, and I'm in the women's section.
I feel like it's also over the age of 30.
Yeah?
It's for women, too.
You might be right.
They're like, oh, you're not in the junior section anymore. And I'm like, oh.
That's kind of funny. You're, oh, shit, I'll go back.
I'm 25. F you.
It should be the biggest section is the older section.
Yeah.
But it's young girls that buy all this stuff. So anyway, so yes, I like what Christy said. We need the men's. Let's see, what's relationships without total trust? Casey's saying, what's relationships without total trust? I think definitely it's important. Of course, most people agree. Okay. All right. So here we go. The question is, do you think social media hurts the dynamics between men and women's relationships? And since we have a guest that we're going to excitedly show you in the new studio that has never been sitting in this spot before, last time we were doing this and it wasn't this nice, is the one and only, wait, what's your handle on here?
Rochelle Renee.
Okay, Rochelle Renee, the one and only Rochelle Renee, which is AKA my sister. So Rochelle, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
What's up? Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Are you nervous? Nervous
no.
is normal. No.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done this before.
Yeah.
You guys have seen Rochelle before. So Rochelle, thanks for being on here. And this is going to be our topic to start. Guys, you always know what to do. If you send the flags, you know we love them. And we're going to get spicy. So we're going to answer this question. So I'm just going to ask you this question, and then we'll get to all the viewers in the comments.
All right.
Right? This is the Farmer and Shell show.
Oh, the Farmer and Farmer show.
This is the Farmer and Garcia.
Garcia.
Farmer and Garcia sounds good.
Farmer and Garcia.
The Farmer show?
Farmer.
By the way, if you guys are coming Friday and you're going to carve pumpkins with us, you're going to see the farmers, because that's what we're going as. So in case you were wondering, that's our costume.
Oh, we're going as a farmer. Okay. I have another plan, but all right.
No, you don't have to, but me and the kids definitely will.
Okay.
Yeah. Casey's saying your hair looks amazing, Rochelle.
Oh, thank you, darling. I did it myself.
Brody's saying, "Yay, you two look great."
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll take that.
You do look awesome. I mean, it runs in the family, right? Keep it in the family.
Wait.
You are fake news.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't read all those. I'm sorry, guys. I try to when they get super long when we're sitting in this
Such
position,
a
so you got to
surprise,
keep them a little
Wendy.
shorter.
Woo!
Your hair looks amazing. Okay, let's do this. Do you think social media hurts the dynamics between men and women's relationships? Rochelle, what is your opinion? Does social media hurt the dynamics? between
Honestly,
men and
I
women's?
think that social media hurts all dynamics. I feel like social media is good for a few things. I feel like I've wanted to not have social media for many reasons, but then, you know, having a business, photography, and all that, I keep it, and it's great.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. But honestly, I feel like social media hurts the family. It hurts teenagers specifically. It hurts women more than men, I feel, but I'm a woman. Because I feel like in the beginning, when social media was kind of new, and, you know, I've been with Derek for 16 years, so, you know, I feel like when he wasn't professing his love for me on social media, I'm like, what the fuck?
Like, how, does he not love me? I don't see it online.
Yeah, right. And now when I, you know, grow older and wiser, I'm like, he doesn't fucking have to do that.
Right.
I mean, come on now.
Like,
You
he
know?
doesn't love me if he doesn't post me.
Right. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't need your post. I need something else. And if you're not giving that to me, then I know, right? But, yeah, I feel like social media can lead you into expectations that are not, it's not real, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think social media poses new problems. I don't think it is the problem. Although I'm torn with this question because what you just said is really important. It's one side of it. But there's another side of it. Just because there's a tool available and you use it inappropriately doesn't make the tool itself wrong. But there's a difference between, I think, a tool and what its purpose is and it being clear, like a hammer is obvious. You don't...
Right. You
You
don't
don't-
smash a window with a hammer.
Right. And you definitely don't... You build a house with a hammer, but you don't drive a car with a hammer. It's pretty obvious. I don't think social media is that. Meaning, I don't think a social media is clearly a tool for this.
It's not for relationships. It's
yeah.
for,
Well, it
working
has
relationships,
has
maybe.
dating apps.
I guess, yeah. I don't
So what I mean is a hammer clearly is not for driving. It's for building a house. Social media is for, it's not clear. It's a tool, but it's not clear what it's for. Social media is full of tools. And unfortunately, I think what happens is we're trying to drive cars with hammers and build houses with cars. And it's like, what?
Right.
This isn't
Everybody's
working.
getting real screwed up.
Yeah, and I like what you said about from a women's perspective too, because I think what it's doing, especially for young girls, because here's what the internet actually is, with all the research that I've done and all the things that I've heard said about it. If you look at the number one driving force of the internet, it's actually women. Here is the internet, and in the best nutshell you could ever see it through. Right? There's other aspects to it, but the main aspect, I would say 70 to 80%, if not more of it, is women like to be seen and men like to look. That's the internet. It doesn't matter if it's ornography. I won't say the whole word. I think that for some reason it's banned and like you can't. So if you watch corn, adult corn, but
Comes out the next
yeah,
day.
pornography is like the thing. That's it. And it doesn't matter if it's YouTube videos, Instagram videos, actual websites for it, or just softcore stuff or stories. Every time I go onto social media, you can't not, especially if you're a man, you can't not see it. It's right there because it's trying to keep you there. So as a tool, it's a tool, but it's not just like a hammer to build a house, right? Or instead of a hammer trying to drive a car with it, which doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do that. It's more like a tool for almost every aspect of your life, but we do the wrong things in the wrong places. We're trying to drive cars with hammers and build houses with cars. That's what it feels like. It's so messy. That's maybe not the best analogy, but I will say this. Because men like to look and women like to be seen, at an early age, it gives the wrong signal for the wrong reasons to the wrong people, and it really disrupts the biology, not the biology, but the behavior and the chemistry
Right.
between us.
The natural chemistry.
Uh-huh,
It's like
100%.
kids, instead of going out and playing together, they're texting each other on their phones.
Yes.
So they don't have to have that social interaction. They don't have to have that awkwardness to get over. They just sit there on their phones and they can be keyboard warriors,
Right.
you know? and they can be big and mighty, or they can be whatever they want. When in reality, when you're face to face with someone, that's who you really are.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
care who you are behind closed door, or behind
The keyboard
a keyboard, or even a telephone.
or a steering wheel, because everybody acts
Right.
different behind keyboards.
You're a
and
tough
steering
guy
wheels.
behind that wheel, motherfucker.
Yeah,
but
everybody
pull
is.
me over.
They got a horn behind the steering wheel, but when they get out of the car, they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we're
Yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
cool. We're good."
Yeah.
I've actually had people with road rage do that to me before, where they get all crazy. They get out of the car. I get out of the car, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that turned out."
Are you now?
That's interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was my younger years. Don't recommend it. Don't
No.
do that. This
Road
is
rage
not
is-
advice.
Not good.
The advice is not. Don't do that. I like what Danver's saying. She says the new kid is definitely tripping on how American men are. Poor guy was relocated on world away, then dumped. Relocated a world away and then dumped. So she's saying the new kid, I think new kid is definitely tripping because she does adoption. So what she's saying is the new kid is tripping on how American men are here. So it's weird because
American men, though, to me, aren't what people are seeing now.
you're right. I don't think what American men still are isn't what anybody's viewing. If you go out in the real world, it is not what you're seeing on
No.
social media.
No.
Opinions, ideas,
There are
behaviors.
some out
Sure,
there,
but it's
right,
not
that
the
you're
many.
Like,
I think most of us are pretty solid, actually.
Yeah.
More solid than people at all lend to believe,
yeah.
for sure. So that's a good. I love the question, by the way. And also, Wendy said, "I love you, Rochelle."
Oh, hello. I love you, Wendy. I miss you.
And she says the birth of fake butts and boobs. So
I
listen to
mean,
this.
what's wrong with fake butts and boobs?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll illustrate again.
If you need it. I
The
guess.
internet literally exists so women can be seen and men can look. That's literally what it is, which sends a really terrible signal to women because it's not real. You're behind a
Right.
filter, you're behind makeup, you're behind angles. Everybody knows all these things. If you look at everything everybody's about to say about the question, which is, do you think social media hurts the dynamics between men and women's relationships? You can look at it through the lens of women like to be seen and men like to look. That's what the internet is. It's not reversed. It's not men like to be seen and women like to look.
Right. And the men that like to be seen, like, I'm sorry, but those men who do the selfies in the bathroom mirror,
Oh God, it's worse
like,
than seeing women do it.
gag worthy.
I
right?
I actually agree. I have some friends that have
Yeah.
done it, and I have to go, bro,
Bro, don't do
dude,
that.
stop.
Yeah,
Like
stop.
you, I just need
You're
to give
gonna
you this.
get a sissy lady, and
Don't.
you're gonna be a sissy man.
He's probably not going to get anybody.
Right? I mean, I don't know. There's some women out there that
You're right. You're right.
bad
Those
radars.
yeah. You're right. Those are the true alphas. See, well, that gets back into what we were talking about earlier, so we won't go there. We'll just stick on this. Do you think social media hurts the dynamics between men and women's relationships? I think yes, because most people aren't fortified, and most people are not going to be tough enough to be able to withstand the influence of social media and the way that we use the internet anymore. We know that through the addictions of things like pornography and the addictions to swiping left and right and the addictions to people, doom scrolling, which is a thing now.
Just continuous
Yeah,
scrolling
for no
because,
reason. Remember the
yeah.
TV when you used to do it with the clicker?
right?
And you used to sit there.
Your dopamine's going, but nothing's actually feeding you. Nothing's actually making.
There's no actual
you-
stimuli.
Yeah.
It's like endless
Oh
darkness,
man,
abyss.
I don't like that.
And it catches us. I think it catches us all.
I've been listening to more music than scrolling, right? So like Facebook, cool. I'll look, whatever. Move on real quick. And I listen to more music because I love being in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hear certain songs, I can actually live in this world,
Right.
right? I can live in the universe of my own mind. And when you're just scrolling through social media, it's almost like you're just trying to find some other universe, some
Yeah.
other world.
It's a fantasy place.
But it's fucking lame.
No, it is. I think of the internet, especially social media, although I use it as a tool as well, right? Like even the Bible says this, like be in the world, but not of the world. Like don't not pay taxes and follow the law. Like you're no use there. Don't not eat or eat inappropriately, but be in it, but don't be of it. So be in it and do it right, but don't let it be you. Don't identify with it so much that like you get lost in it. That's good advice because I think what happens when you don't live this way, right? That's my favorite way of seeing it. It makes so much sense. But what happens is if you use the internet as being a tool and a marker for your life's understanding and your life's experiences, terrible, because the internet is like a TV show. It's not real. It's made up of a bunch of fake stuff. All of us, like everybody will see my social media and think one thing, and it's not reality. It's the reality I'm willing to show you. And I
Right.
use that on purpose. Like, here's the
Right.
really great work I do.
That's
only.
that's what people do. That's
Sure.
That's content.
So if you live
That's-
solely on it, you're really going to be misinformed and totally misled.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, that's more true today than it needs to be, than necessary. So as long as that tool's around, we're going to see the impacts of it over long periods of time in the coming years on how it affects kids. Because see, you and I grew up in a time where they didn't have any of this.
right, and I'm so glad.
Me too. But
Thank God.
think about what this means.
There's no proof.
Oh, that I like. I like what you said there. No proof. But also, we have a natural way of existing in terms of personal relationships with ourselves and others that existed long enough during our developmental age that wasn't interrupted by social media. It was a natural way of interacting with ourselves and the world and others. Kids today, the truth is, I sound like the old man saying it, but it's a fact. Kids today were not raised in that natural world. They were raised in the digital world where it's unnatural and it's very, well, like we just said, it's a faux world. It's not real. And they're raised with it. So they never developed those natural ways of
Right.
communicating with themselves or the real, natural, actual world.
Which sorry to cut
I
you
was
off.
just going to say, everybody thinks the world's full of like super hot, super rich, super six.
Right.
Go to the mall, go to the gym, go to your next place. Maybe not the gym, because those
Go
are where the people
anywhere.
are trying to get fit, but go anywhere in public and look around. It's not what you see on social media.
That's why I feel like having emotional intelligence is super important. And I feel like kids today are being taught not to nurture that, right? Like the kids in school who, okay, for instance, this is what I wanted to bring up last week.
This is the long thing that you couldn't type. But
Yeah.
that you wanted to get to.
Okay.
Okay. So here we are. You guys are watching it now. It's Inception. A week later, here's Rochelle. She's going to share with you the long thing.
And it's not that big, right? But it's huge. That's fucking oxymorons.
But it's not that hard to say, but it's an important thing.
Yes.
Okay, I get you.
Okay.
Same
so,
wave.
for instance, Ethan, our nephew,
Mm-hmm.
right?
God, I love that kid.
His birthday's coming up. He can't send an invitation to 1, 2, 3 kids that he wants. If you send one invitation, you have to send all invitations. What?
That's weird.
Because you can't hurt people's feelings.
Oh, I see.
Okay, we love children. We don't want you to have your feelings hurt. But isn't that the foundation of learning how to live in reality where not everyone's going to freaking like you?
Right.
Not everyone's going to want to invite you.
Right.
And guess what? That's okay.
Yeah, and that's reality.
And
for
that's
sure.
reality.
That is reality.
So it bothered me when mom told me that. I was like, what?
Like he can't send him if he doesn't send him to everybody.
What?
Like if he doesn't include everybody.
I
It's
don't want my
inclusive.
kid to feel like, oh, I'm invited because I have to be.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's terrible.
No, I want you to be invited because you like this person, because the person likes you, because you guys get along, because you've learned how to coexist,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
No, that's reality. And that you want to prepare your kids for the world that exists, not the world you wish existed.
Right.
And I will be the first person to admit at 41 years of life, the world is not a nice place to you.
No,
Like if you, it's not.
but it's beautiful.
It could be beautiful for sure, but especially for your children, to teach them that it's this nice hunky-dory place where bullies are bad and they shouldn't exist. Well, they do, and they always will. And sitting there and complaining about it isn't going to do anything. It's a fact. You should prepare them to be able to handle it, not prepare them to want it, not prepare them to complain about it existing.
Right.
So I think that's exactly true, and I think that that's hard for parents today to navigate that because it's a feel-good society today.
I would rather have a small circle that means more than a large circle that means nothing.
You know, that's interesting you say that because, again, going back to the social media question, it's very difficult because, like, for example, right now, I grew up in a time where social media was not the way in which you interacted.
Right.
I had real friends, real people that I had to interact with. I learned real life, actual cues and skills while I was developing at a very young age. And most of this development, social cues and skills, they develop way earlier than people realize, like 4.
Right.
Like most of your social interactions are developed mentally by 4. And people are like, how is that possible? Well, look at the research.
You're the biggest sponge till 5.
And the problem is, after that, if that window's gone, the ability to socialize is almost non-existent.
So sad.
And that's terrifying because you can absolutely today raise a kid during an epidemic where for 2 years they were locked out
Oh my
of the first possible years of maybe even preschool or interactions with kids. The first 2 years before that, they had a cell phone or they were just, rolling around on the ground in their diapers. And so for 4 years, you can actually alienate a kid in today's world so easily, not to include just screen time alone, that they can miss that window. And we have yet to see a whole generation of people raised that way, but they're coming.
We're about to.
And it's hard because who do you blame? I don't know, but I do know this, that it's going to cause a huge problem, and we're going to see it unfold real quick, real quick. And people like us are going to I don't want to sound like the hero, but people like us who grew up in an era where that wasn't true are going to they're going to rely on us. They're going to rely on us. So stop blaming it on them and start being an example. That's why I think today more than ever before, I beat this drum every time I'm on a live stream. That's why I think you should be as fit as possible, mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? You need to get all your shit straight today more than ever before because these kids are fucking lost.
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't they be?
Right. And no fault of their own. I mean, I'm just saying.
They didn't build it.
Exactly. They're the product of their environments and their indoctrination.
100%. And that's what I warn about is they need us more than ever before because there's no, I think of it as signals. There's no true signals anywhere in what direction to follow because they're lost in this mess, right? So I think it's more important today than ever. It's always important, but it's more important today than ever to get your ducks in a row for sure. Wendy is also saying blame parents. You have to. You have to at least blame somebody older than the kids. The kids didn't build this.
Well, the parents, right? Like the parents are the adults.
Kids aren't buying the food and the phones.
At the same time, parents are just grown children. So at what time in life are you shaking someone by the shoulder saying, wake up, right? Because when you're a kid, yes, you're a kid. And yes, I'm teaching you things. So like by the age 15, you're like, bro, you know better. So get it together. By the age 20, same thing with new things. By the age 30, 40, 50, right? So like parents, okay, so when do we start shaking them? Because there's 15-year-old parents and there's 30-year-old parents and there's 40-year-old parents and so on, right? So it's almost like, who do you blame? Well, it is a societal
because you can't shake anybody actually.
Conditioning.
I think of it maybe a bad sort of metaphor here or sort of comparison, but I think of it as like drug addiction. You can't go up to somebody who's on drugs and shake them and be like, hey, what are you not getting here? Let me help you. Just come with me. It's not going to work.
Because it's way more deep.
So what you have to do is rely on a society, on a culture that doesn't
feed
inhibit
into
this.
that.
It's not growing. It's not supporting
exactly.
it. And so really it is. That's why earlier I was saying it about men and women. Somebody says, I don't need a man, but I want a man. I hear that a lot. And I'm just here to tell you, you're lying and it's wrong. It's not true. Stop telling these kids who are grown in this digital lost world that are women being seen and boys looking, which is really inflating women and really deflating men, which is exactly why we see the dynamics we see in society today. It's terrible, not to include suicide rates and homelessness and all this depression and shit that is destroying us. This is disgusting. Where are these mothers that love their kids? Like, where is it that all these women that say they care so much and that they're so loving and nurturing and that they do it, that they care so much about X, Y, or Z? Well, I think we're falling apart because the dynamics are clearly showing out of the, let's say the beliefs that people have. Like, I'm a smart, independent woman who doesn't need a man, because I equate these two directly. I'm a smart, independent woman who does not need a man. Cool. Say that to your 7-year-old boy his whole life. Come on. Like, that's...
A boy needs a man. He needs his dad.
And his mother needs him
figures.
Too. His mother needs him to grow up to be a strong man so she could be,
Men and women, that's the thing about, what was it? The whole movement of the women, in the 60s.
Like the feminist movement?
Feminist liberation, right? I know this is so taboo.
I like taboo. Taboo's cool.
This is so taboo. But remember the piece, Love, Not War? Mm-hmm. You know what that fed the most? Do you think it fed war or do you think it fed love?
Love, not war?
Yeah, the hippies. What do you think?
Well, I personally think that I have a big bone to pick with the hippies, but
it fed the war.
Okay.
You know why? Because it created this side and that side.
A division.
And they wanted the war. War was money, right? So with feminism. Yes. So with that, right? You teach these women, they don't need the men.
That's how you destroy our country. That's exactly what they did.
Exactly. It's the long game. It is not about men and women. It is about division. It's just the same with this whole other ideology that's going on that I won't even talk about.
But everything's linked to it, right? That's kind of what you're alluding to, is like racism.
Right.
It's just a tool, guys. They're just using it as a tool. Classism, the rich and the poor, right? The haves, the have-nots, the smart, the not smart, the employees, the workers, the boss, the this, the whatever they're doing right now. They're hijacking everything, even sports or teams or men or women or whatever, groups. Every group is getting marginalized today and pushed apart. So it's exactly the tool they're using, and they've been using it for a while now. And I like to point out that the hippies were selling feel good for the first time in our country instead of work hard. And I personally think they had that part wrong. I'm not sitting here trying to wave a magic wand in history and say I would change it. I'm just saying here's what's happened.
Right.
We've turned into this whole society of people that want free shit instead of freedom.
Right.
And it's weird because that was not our growing up in the 80s and 90s.
And when I say that about the hippies, I'm not, don't get me wrong. Like in my past life, I was probably a hippie, right? I was a biker's wife. I was a hippie. I mean, come on, I've been it all, right? I've been around the block. But when you look at the grand scheme of things and where things have come and what has happened with society, it's just so clear.
Yeah, I think it is for us.
Yeah.
For us, and it takes us to, like I said, the proof has to be in the pudding. It has to show in our lives, in our relationships. It has to show in our families and our kids. Look, like I say this all the time because David taught me this. Our dad taught us this. Don't look up to people and don't ask for advice for people who don't have the results you want.
Right.
So if you want a certain result, find the people getting it
Yeah.
and seek them out.
Yeah.
Simple. So if you don't have the results you'd like people to have, you should shut your mouth.
Right.
You literally should, because you have work to do.
You want parental advice? Don't listen to the lady down the street that got her kids taken away.
You definitely don't.
Obviously.
Now, watch her and learn from her,
Right.
meaning like that sucks. Don't let that's painful. That's a signal. But yeah, you can't take her advice,
Right.
because even a broken clock is it's twice,
You want to
right
live
twice a day.
a good, healthy life. You don't listen to a drunk.
Yeah, not going to work. I know people disagree with that, but I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't go sitting around the trash because there might be a little bit of good food in it. So let's just go to the place where things are healthier. And every once in a while, there might be some trash, but you're better off looking through the stuff that's clearly good. So for those who aren't in a position to give the advice, I think you should just ask for advice, look to those who have the thing, and then we'll do better. It's weird to have to say that, but we live in a world of delusion today that the signals aren't so clear because of the way we live today. People are lost. They're
So
seeing
lost.
it. They're seeing it on social media.
It's so sad.
It is.
It really is.
But we can always be part of the solution by being, at least representing the best hope possible for these, especially for people growing up. But even
Yeah.
people our age, there's plenty. It's not like I'm just
yeah.
excluding all the people
yeah.
our age. So
Yeah.
Natalie's on here. Natalie, what's up? Thanks for being on here. Do I have anything? I do have something for you, Natalie. Let's do this.
Fucking hell yeah.
So thanks for being on here, Natalie.
I love that one.
She's saying the feminist movement
That's the
was
Caleb
from
one.
hell. It's so good.
Fucking hell yeah.
Natalie says the feminist movement was from hell, and you know what? I would definitely say there's a lot of poisonous movements in the recent
don't-
times that are definitely part of the things that we need to get back to.
And don't get me wrong. Women, yes, we are strong. Guess what? And when I said boss bitch earlier, my boss bitch is different from all the
Yeah.
other people's boss bitches. I don't need no man boss
Right.
bitch. No, my boss bitch is I can fucking put my bootstraps on and get muddy and dirty. And I can make shit happen. But also I can be feminine and
Right.
loving and
Right.
it's the whole gruff part that is like, come on.
I think what it is there's this sort of woman in society today that is proud of those things. And I think, look, we could go down this rabbit hole forever because I think that it's necessary that women are in the position they're in today because of the way, we're getting destroyed. This family's getting separated. I think the family looks like this. Again, this is my premise, my belief, the way I see things. First, there's God, your creator, the cosmos, whatever you call it. I actually don't care. There's been thousands, if not
Right.
millions of words for this. There's your creator, your father in heaven, your higher power, the thing in which you cry to when you're in
Right.
stress or some sort of, distress of some sort of trauma. The thing that you look for answers if something's listening. I don't know if there is, but if there is, whatever
Right.
that is to you, there's that first. And then there's the man, the woman, and the children. That's the hierarchy of existence. And women today have had to make up for those men who aren't there because the head's been cut off, right? We've been separated first by our God, by our spirituality. We were living in this mechanized world today they want you to be in, so that we're both taxpayers, that we both have to go to work. Now the kid has to go to school and get raised in the system, which the system is
The
funded.
indoctrination.
Yeah, it's ran by the government, and so they want you to be this little robot. Because now you're an
Pay your
employee,
taxes.
and your employee is the highest
Bend
paying.
over.
Yeah, you're the highest paying taxpayer in the world, or in the country is American. Actually, the highest paying taxpayer I think in the world is the American worker, the American employee. So that's my problem with the whole scenario. And if you cut off the head, which is what they did, you don't cut off the tail. It's not going to do any good. Like when people conquer countries, they don't go and kill
Right.
all the women and children
Right.
and keep the men. And when people go to help countries, they don't go to the other countries and help all the women and children. They have to
Right.
help the men so that they can make better environments for the women and children.
So it makes sense.
Like, they don't train women
since-
and children. They train the men so that they can make better families for the
So it
women and
makes
children.
sense that, since the 40s, 50s, 60s, they've been demasculizing, is that the right word?
Yeah, because that's the only way you can win.
Our country. And now look at the men. I mean, look at the testosterone levels, and it's from food. It's
Everything.
from medicine. It's from so many things. It's also from, breaking the home. So there's no father.
Right.
There's mother, right? There's just so much.
Which doesn't work as good. And that's my point about the boss bitch part. That's why I don't like it. That's why I don't like the rhetoric of we're smart, independent women who don't need
Yeah,
men.
I don't like that boss bitch part of
Right.
that either. For me, it's different.
Now,
right?
it's a
So,
good thing women have that ability to step up and make up to some
Right.
degree the loss of these men. But the problem is you have to see the whole picture. And this is my message to a lot of people. You have to see the whole picture of what they're doing systematically by cutting you off first from the father so that you can't be a father. And so that women don't look up to you, and your kids definitely don't fucking listen now. You think it's video games and social media. I'm telling you right now, it's not that. It's this head that's been cut off, and now we're running around in so many different parts, and it's not working. And you can think that there's another way. People can try all you want, right? People have done it in many different ways through many different systems. You can think that there's some other magic way of living that is aside from this, but I'm telling you right now, biologically, as men and women, as people and humans, we both need mothers and fathers.
Right.
And we all pray to something when shit goes bad.
Yeah.
So for us to not make that healthy dynamic stronger as a bond, until we get back to that, none of the rest of the minutia matters. You can keep putting Band-Aids on. We shouldn't be allowed to do this and this and all these laws and rules and gun laws and this law and higher taxes, all that you want. You're going to keep going down a rabbit hole of disaster. So as long as you allow this thread, this beautiful family thread of existence through the chain of command in terms of our biology, as soon as we get that tightened up, we'll do better. And until we do, you can't do better. So look, when you take over a country, you go and kill the men, keep the women and children. When you go and help a country, you go and help the men so they can disperse it out to the women and children. So if you want to destroy a country, even though today
You
it's
destroy the man.
always, that's always the answer. Well, today what we're doing is we're destroying the men and helping the women and children. All the resources get shoveled to them. That doesn't make any of this better because it just creates a farther gap between us. So I'll try not to completely ignore you guys in the comments because it's one of my favorite parts about this is literally just watching people in the comments. So I appreciate you guys. Wendy says women are forced to wear the pants. You're right. Dambry actually said, she goes, women now got to be the homemakers and work. So basically double stress. Even worse, not just double stress. Now nobody's tending the home. People are going out into the workplace and obeying their bosses and then calling themselves boss bitches, but they won't, and they'll submit to their boss. You have to be on time. You have to wear this. They'll follow directions. You can't look like a hoe. You can't go to work. But when you go home, maybe some work.
I don't know where you
some
work,
jobs.
but just kidding.
But when you go home and your husband requires these things of you, he's a
He wants you
chauvinistic
to look
pig.
like a hoe.
Yeah, he's a chauvinistic pig now for telling you to do the things that you'll willingly do to your boss. What's interesting is not only is Danvers pointed out this double stress, it's also you're you've just doubled the taxpayer base. So the government wants
that's
that.
exactly why they started the movement.
Of course, to make us weaker.
It's money. It's yep.
It's a lack of.
They made women believe go to college, go to school, have careers, and there have been women who followed that path, and I've seen documentaries, if you will, I guess. I've seen women say, I fell into this thought process, and now I'm in my 40s, and I have no family.
Right.
I have no children. And here the whole time she's thinking, work first and career and all this. But it's like you became a doctor and now you're in your 40s. And so now you've arrived and you're a little
Lonely.
getting older and the eggs aren't so ripe.
Getting
you know?
older.
You know?
Yeah, and there's a point, especially for women, in which it's too late and it's much earlier than it is for men, and so it does nobody a service. It's a complete disservice to trick him into the scenario, but it's exactly what they're doing. And if you can't see how it's being done, then you should start opening your eyes and listening, because you'll start to see it unfold. That the internet is created because women like to be seen and men like to view, right? That's exactly why it's being created. Literally, the number one driver for the internet. So you'll see how this all ties in. The number one driver for the internet was women nude. That's literally what drove the internet. Without women being viewable on the internet, that was the thing that drove it economically. Without it, it would be some tool that some people use sometimes as some cool little chat room, maybe. But without women being on there to be viewed and men to view, the internet wouldn't exist even today. It's still, adult content is still viewed more today than Netflix and most of the streaming device combined. Every day there's more eyes on adult content than there is on all of those streaming devices combined. So, but they're not going to tell you, because what they want you to think is there's all these good reasons to be on here, so support it. And here's the actual problem. So unfortunately, this technology is really destroying us in such a deep way. But what do we do about it? Different conversation. My point is, I'm tying it back into what we've become, I could say, as a society, but also as families. We've become delusional. Women think that their value should be only in, the likes and the views and, whether or not their man posts pictures of it. That's the metrics now. And instead of in real life, right? We're playing the game behind steering wheels and keyboards instead of in real life. And I just think that that's detrimental. And I don't think it's going to, it's going to create a whole different human. I don't think any of us could predict what that's going to look like in 20, 30 years with these kids growing up with it 100%.
I'm so curious when you were just saying something. I'm curious how many women go home and they're both on their social medias, man and woman, or partner and partner. They're on their social medias, but the partner has maybe, given accolades or a shout out or I love you, shout from the rooftop, Facebook, I love my whatever. And is that enough for you?
Yeah.
And are you happy? And because you're over here too, just doing this, right?
Yeah.
So how many people actually have that versus you come home and all of a sudden you're together? You're together. You're making dinner together. You're family. You're being together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 80% of relationships are reported to have people are miserable. 80% of marriages, people are miserable in them. 80% of people at the workforce. This is like the reports.
Work.
And now it's not just that it takes work, because that's true. It does take work, but we're being duped. That's the problem. It's yes, it takes work, but people are being lied to at birth. And when you condition someone in their informative years to such a way, you've got them for life now.
Totally.
And so that's what they've done.
That's why we have birth certificates. We are a product of the government.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And then take your number.
Exactly.
Because
that's
what
why
actually
they started that.
Yeah, that's one thing you can't really change. So,
right.
All right, let's get to the comments, guys. We're going to try to pay our best attention to you now. So if you guys have anything you want to say other than Rochelle's hair looks beautiful and that she's wonderful and that you guys are excited to see her on here. I should also mention Rochelle flew in here. Actually, she just got here and got dropped off at the studio and jumped on. So that's what you guys got to witness a little bit ago. So thank you very much for that. Hopefully you're not feeling like jet lag or anything.
I feel good. I
was
just
like
had
an
a
hour.
coffee. I'm good.
We're good. We're ready to go. So let's get into the comment section. Casey's saying surviving alone, not thriving alone. I think when you're alone, you survive. And when you're together, you thrive. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all here because people came together, guys. Every single one of us.
Right.
You don't have two ears without two parents. Like, you have to have two parents. That's how it works. I don't care if you're a test tube baby, which I think is weird too, but you have biological parents. That's the only way this works. Denver says, I feel like I have to perform my best at work and home. I work 16 hours, cook, clean, tend to the kids, serve my husband. So basically it's all work. Yeah, well, I mean,
that's a path you've, do I say that?
Path you've chose?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's work. Everything's work that's worth doing.
It is, right? Like,
sure. We're not sitting at a
my
park
life
like
isn't
staring
perfect,
at the sun.
but my life is what I have chosen, right? And every choice I make in my life, whether good or bad, is because of what I want.
Yeah.
And it may not be what you want or what is good for you, and it's none of your business. your life, what you do, and how hard you work, and what you choose to do with your day is your choice. You know, so D'Ambria, when I read that and I see I work 16 hours, go home, clean, cook, tend to the kids, and serve my husband, if that's something you love, great. If it's not something that you love and you feel like you're being depleted and you don't have the balance, then you need to look inside yourself and you need to ask yourself, okay, what can I do?
Yeah, because it's always constant adjustment. It's not like you find
Yeah.
it, get there and stay, right?
Right. That's never going to happen.
I always think about it as like going to work or going to the gym. Do you get to the gym, get the body you want, and then go, I got it, now I can go do something
now
else?
I can go eat cake.
Yeah, or hey, I went to work and now my bank account's full.
Yeah. Guess I don't have to go tomorrow.
Yeah, and then your bills come in and you go, oh, got to go do it again.
Shit.
So it's a constant need of adjustment, right?
Yeah.
And we're good at doing that as humans. We're adaptable. That's the thing
Right.
that makes us different than the rest of the animals mostly is that our ability to adapt to situations they couldn't.
Right.
So that's a good thing.
And that's the thing too, is like your way is not my way is not your way. And that's the beauty of life.
Hmm. And that's what makes everybody individual too. So
Right.
that's totally cool. So yeah, if you guys have questions, I don't see any more coming in. We have been on now for exactly 2 hours. We're not exactly done yet, and I'm feeling good.
I'm good, man.
Shell's doing good. You guys are all doing
I
good.
just got
Thanks.
in.
Yep, that's right.
Fucking hell yeah.
Fucking hell
I love
yeah,
it.
Caleb, Auntie Caleb.
That's got to be my
We
favorite
miss
one.
him.
That's got to be and then this one.
You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn.
That's so good. There's so many. Some of these are just my
what she
favorite.
said.
It's like I could just sit here all day. And
Can't handle the truth.
that's our episode today, right there.
That's
there you
right.
go.
That's right.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Brody Jades, John here saying we have choices every day, and that's a privilege. And that's true. You know, there's something I was talking about today with a client of mine, how because when something, this is a double-edged sword with human existence. It's something you can't escape, right? Like there's more blades of grass in the world than there are roses, right? There's more beetles than there are horses. There's more you can consider insignificant things. Like most of your day is made up of the weeds,
Right.
not flowers, not sunsets, not extravagant things. So there's a phrase that says it's about the journey, not the destination. And I would say wrong. It's about both,
Right.
right?
It's everything.
And
It's actually this moment. It's not about what just happened 5 minutes ago and yesterday. It's not about what might happen tomorrow because tomorrow's never going to be here because
Right.
it's always going to be right now.
That's why I always tell people it's free tattoos all day tomorrow. When? Tomorrow. It's just tomorrow.
And then they show up
and
tomorrow.
I'm like, no, it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a sign up that says free tattoos tomorrow. No date, just tomorrow.
Yeah.
I saw it in a bar once that says free beer all day tomorrow. And then you come in, it's the same sign. You're like, dang it. But life is made up of those seemingly insignificant things, little moments, like most of existence is seemingly insignificant, most of your day, most of your experiences. But if you can find a way to make those, to extract out of those things the glory, like so Brody was saying we have choices every day and that's a privilege. The fact that you're alive and here, worrying about things that are, you
So
got to
minute.
consider, just like the Bible said, be in the world, but not of the world. Right? Be in it. You can't avoid that. You're here. Make the best of it. But don't be of the world. Don't be so wrapped up in it that you get sucked up into it and forgetting that like life is made up of many things. And if you can find ways to make those seemingly insignificant things, and I say seemingly because I point this out all the time. Can you or I or anybody in this room or anybody you know on this planet make a blade of grass?
Right.
But to you, because there's so much of it,
We can't make a heartbeat
like,
unless,
but it happens so much every day that to you it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Like
We
we're
don't-
not going another one. Oh my gosh, this is so
Right.
cool. This is so cool. I get more.
I'm
It's
not
going to keep
making
going.
myself breathe. I'm just doing it. Yeah.
And you wake up every day as if it's just another day when you don't really realize. So what happens when, and this is what I was talking about earlier in the shop, when something is like if you don't eat all day and then you get something,
Oh,
you
I
actually get
don't
something you
eat.
really like.
I'm terrible. I huff and puff. Motherfucking
So-
give me some fucking chicken.
So if you didn't have chicken all day and then all of a sudden it's 4 o'clock, you didn't have time to eat and you get the chicken you love, right? Cooked exactly how you like it. Does it taste better or just as good as if you had it when you were just kind of hungry? Or does it taste better when you deprive yourself just a little bit
Because
longer?
we're human. If we're deprived, it's so much better.
So much better. So
So much better.
what I like to point out is that you don't always have to wait to be deprived
Right.
to get a gift, but it doesn't feel like a gift. So often life doesn't feel like it's a gift, even when you're struggling. Because if you're alive and able to, let's say, make sense of things, then I would actually admit that you're doing better off than you can imagine. Even if you're in total disarray at the moment, you're still doing better because it could get worse. You think, how could it get worse? Well, trust me. Let's write it down. I could think of things that would make it worse.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it. And that's where we get stuck. I think
Right.
we get too stuck in not realizing that this is not only a gift, it's the gift.
That's why I feel like I should be able to have my child bring an invitation to one child
Whoever he wants.
because it's a fucking gift.
Yeah, because it's a gift. There you go. So you're not
And
not
you
all
need
invited.
to learn about it.
So that's what you're saying is you're not all invited.
You're not.
You're not all invited.
You're not all invited. Yeah. And it's okay. Right? Like, not everybody likes me. I'll still take your money. But not everybody is going to like me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Thank goodness.
Right?
That would suck. That'd be a long line.
If everybody
Everybody
likes
else would
me,
be
that
bored.
means I'm doing something wrong.
Right. Wendy is asking an interesting question. I was always waiting for somebody to ask this question. She's saying, I've seen a 666 tattoo on you. What's the background on that? I won't give you the whole story.
You know, that's funny because I see that sometimes
Yeah.
and I'm like, I know people are thinking that because I
always
know
wonder.
you. I know your heart and I know your spirituality and I know your connection with God, source, all that. So for me, I see that and I'm like, "Pfft." But I have thought about that.
Yeah.
When I see it,
I'm surprised it took this long.
I know.
People don't
Same.
often ask me about it. I think it's
Yeah.
because they're just like, I don't want to bring it up
Yeah.
or whatever, but it doesn't bother me. I'll be honest with you. I think because I got it so long ago, it was just I like middle fingers. Okay. Growing up, it was
You like
very,
skulls, middle
Sure.
fingers.
I just
yeah.
like to really,
the word F-U-C-K.
yeah. So all kinds of that. And to me, that's really what it was for me at the time. And not only that, but at the time, I say this all the time now, I considered myself an atheist. And what's
Right.
interesting is now that I don't consider myself an atheist, what's interesting is I don't think it's possible to be an atheist. People claim they are. I think it's like a man claiming he's a woman. You're still a man.
Right.
Everybody people can claim you're an atheist all you want, and you can think it and actually believe it, but you're not because, well, go ahead.
It's just unbelievable to me because you've talked about this before. And of course, you know, when I'm typing, it's just so different.
Yeah, you can't exactly express.
Yeah, you can't.
So express away, Shelly.
I'm expressing. So it's funny because I also was an atheist for many years when in reality I never was.
No.
Right? Like I grew up talking to God. I grew up, well, obviously we grew up with our biological father being Seventh-day Adventist,
Very religious.
you know, but it was also
It was zero spirituality.
Zero spirituality. Zero. Which for me, it was always way more spiritual than religion based. Granted, okay, you know, I won't go into the religious and the spiritual part of it, but for me, it is deep, right? But then there was a time in my life where like I was just so I was really fucked up from relationships.
I remember.
From shit that happened, from, you know, abuse, all the things that really just kind of jaded me and made me.
This moment that he knew. Fucked up.
You know what I mean? Like I was really fucked up. And so I thought to myself, I don't believe in God. I don't. Even though I did, even though in the back of my mind, I knew I still talk to God.
Yeah.
I totally pray to God every day of my life. I spoke to him. I still do. And you know, when I met Derek, actually, he kind of was the same atheist. His parents grew up, you know, they were Seventh-day Adventist and all that, right? And so I think now it's different for him too, but we don't really talk about it. Spirituality is a little different, but like we don't really get into the nitty-gritty of God, and I don't need to because I don't need to know your thing or his thing or I need to know my thing. That's all I need to know. But it's weird that I went through that stage of almost trying to convince myself that I don't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I heard you saying that too, because obviously, you moved back to California and we weren't around each other all the time. So like to see the similarities in each other still, because obviously we're like twins, always felt connected in that way like that. So for me to know that you went through that and so did I, and around the same time.
Right. And even a few people on here are
crazy.
saying that same thing happened to them at a young age.
Right?
A few people. I think Wendy said it, or somebody said it. Sorry. Shouldn't call it names because maybe I'm wrong, but somebody was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Pretty common experience. I think it's normal. I think it's absolutely natural and accepted. That's why I like to tell people to give some grace and patience to people when they're in something, because they need to go through this to get the message. So let them, support them, and don't. I was talking about earlier, like Jesus' story. People forget all the time. They think that it's all about religion, but they forget that Jesus' story is that he loved everybody, specifically the people on the streets, the people that were criminals, the people that were falling apart, and the people that were outcasts, outliers, and not special, rich, extravagant, not kings necessarily or queens, but the downtrodden. That was the message, which is like, don't just wait for people to be perfect in your eyes, to extend love and care, because in those moments is when they probably need it most, when they're not in those positions. And I think that's exactly kind of what you're saying. And what I learned is exactly that too, is you just get lost in judging people in the position when you have to remember, like, we were there too. Like, we did exactly that. Like, when someone says, "Oh, I don't believe in God," my opinion is, well, just give it time. And they're like, "Oh yeah, no trouble." And then they're so solid in their state, because I was too.
It's funny. Okay, so agnostic and atheist. I always called myself agnostic. And honestly, I don't even know what the difference is. So it was after Grayson passed away. And I remember it because someone wrote to me and said something about God and Jesus and all this. And I think for me, it stems from childhood, when it was like, the preaching that we got.
Right.
We got preached at.
Right.
But at the same time, you're turning around and doing something that
hypocritical.
you shouldn't be. Hypocritical preaching,
Right.
which I do not dig. So when somebody was saying that to me and my son just died, it was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm agnostic.
It's like a slap in the face.
Yeah, I'm like, no. But then years later, when I think back at that moment, I'm like, ooh, I don't even know who that woman was. That was me. I don't even know who that woman was that was reacting to this person who was just reacting and saying something out of love and their own understanding. And here I was, like, scoffing it off. I don't even know that person.
That's good. That just shows that you've grown. It's kind of like looking back at an old picture and going, "Oh, what was I doing?"
Oh, yeah.
'Cause you've grown. You've learned.
I look at a lot of things and I'm like, ooh, that was tacky.
I'm glad you shared that. That's very important and very powerful, because especially in a moment like you're describing, that's obviously a very vulnerable moment and a very specific thing that I think we could all relate to a degree and in our own ways. And again, it just points out that especially if you're going to profess some sort of love for something you believe to be so powerful, true, and real and useful, you should probably protect it with the way in which you carry it, because you could really ruin somebody else's experience with it if you don't protect it. Just like being a father, a parent, a husband, or a wife, you should protect that with your behavior, because you're just going to ruin it for somebody else by doing it inappropriately. It's like being successful and wealthy. If you're wealthy and you're a terrible person, or you do bad things with it and it amplifies your negative nature, all you're doing is ruining it for other people to even want to step up and do better for them. So just the things that are good in life, you really do have to protect them. Like, it's very important to do. So,
and if you don't have the good things in life and you have, like, let's say this cookie cutter thing, right? Or you have this thing that you've gotten into that isn't quite it, figure it out.
So Casey's on here saying, do you think fear is the main factor for belief in God?
Well, I feel like that's what religion was based on, is God fearing, which I don't feel like anybody should fear a God or God. Because
so do you think fear is the main factor for belief in God? Like, for most people, like, I think fear first is misunderstood, because I like fear personally. Like, I've never feared anybody more in my life than my dad, David, ever. I've never felt a level of fear
Act natural.
ever. Yeah,
He's
when he would
coming
come home, we
Hear
would do
his
this.
Truck. Jennifer, act natural. We're like, well, what are we doing? Why
Yeah.
are we not? Aren't
We
we
would
natural?
all do it. We'd sit on the couch and we'd be like, how do we look? How is everything going?
He's coming home.
And
Hear
that's
his truck.
honestly one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. Not then.
It's so funny.
When it was in then, it
It's
was
so
like, oh.
dumb. Now looking back, it's like Jen was paranoid.
What I think what it was too for me is it was a respect thing for a man
Yeah.
who was gone all day
Totally.
out in the world doing fucking hard shit, coming home sunburnt, tired, stinky, dirty, beat up,
Yeah, we
bloody
didn't want to be
hands.
jumping off the walls
Yeah,
and being
be good.
crazy. Yeah.
That was beautiful. So I call that healthy fear. And
cute.
and so when somebody says, we've already moved a little, but does it require fear? Is the belief in God require fear? I would say one, yes, actually, but don't misunderstand it as I'm scared. Fear
Right.
is not you're not scared, right? Your fear's different. And I'll say it this way: if there's a puddle when you're a little kid, a little too big for you to jump over, you respect that puddle. You're a little afraid of missing it, so you don't try. But then you see another kid do it, and it looked really easy, and now you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And that kid wasn't even as big or fast as me. So now you do it. You had a healthy fear of something, but it was laid to rest with an example or with
Right.
works.
Right.
So also, I would say it this way: fearing God is, because this is a point I think a lot of people miss often. God is written into the fabric of all things. There's nothing that exists without God, and all things represent God and His rules. So people say, "How do you believe in God?" Well, you don't have to believe in God, but yes, I do. And I will say this: the reason you don't have to is because gravity works every single time you test it. Right? Light moves at the same speed every single time you measure it. Whenever somebody's born, it's like the physics of things are really stable. Now, when you get into different types of physics and you get into quantum physics, that's a totally different story. So if anybody's a real scientist about this stuff, don't quote
Save
me
it.
here, because it does get really weird at that quantum level, which is probably because we're not necessarily, we don't have the tools to understand it and conceptually. But I'll say this: God's written into everything. If you plant a flower, you plant a bush, you plant a crop, and you tend to it correctly, they're not all the same. You don't plant everything in November and then reap later. Everything is not the same. Everything has its own rules. You can't treat a tomato like you treat a rose plant, and everything's unique.
Right.
And it's consistent. It's super consistent, which means God wrote these things into the fabric of everything. So if you fear God, it's like saying this. I think it's like the same thing as saying, I also feared jumping off a bridge, because the physics are written into all things that he put forth. And so, yeah, I fear doing things wrong. It's a healthy fear. And I think it's super consistent, which is able to be trustworthy. And so I like to point that out, that if maybe it doesn't seem like it's applicable, but to me, it makes a lot of sense when I navigate my life that, if I eat too much, guess what? Every single time. If I don't eat the right things, I eat shit food, guess how I feel? Every single time. If I don't overspend and I do a little bit of, financial discipline,
Frugal.
guess what? I get the results every single fucking time. If I treat someone a certain way or a different way, X, Y, or Z ways, guess what? The results almost every single time. It's like, this is really consistent stuff, guys. I think that's God. I think He wrote it into all things. And I think whatever you call it the cosmos, right? It's consistent. And I fear it because, yes, it's real. And I don't fear it like I'm scared. I fear it and I respect it. Kind of like a rattlesnake. Like, I'm not scared of rattlesnakes. Like, I don't go to bed going, oh, rattlesnakes exist. But if I'm picking up a rock out in the woods because maybe I'm curious, I ain't picking it up from the front. I'm lifting it from the back so that if it strikes, it's respect. It's a healthy fear. It's not scared. I think it's totally different. Being scared of God is not necessary. So, long-winded answer to a very simple question. I like that. Heidi's laughing, saying, LOL, Dad's home. It was real, man. I remember it like it's yesterday.
Real.
Yeah.
What was that international truck?
Yeah,
That
he had
truck,
an
it's like
international
international.
pickup. Those things are badass.
That was so
I wish
badass.
he still had it. That would
It
be
purred so purty.
so loud.
It was so
That's
loud.
all we'd hear is, and it was loud. But we lived out in the middle of nowhere.
hill, it was like you could actually then see it.
Yeah, we had
So
about
funny.
20 seconds to a minute when
Yeah.
he'd get home. We'd hear it and go, "That's it. Let's clean up. Let's check everything. Look at the fridge. Sit down. Look in the mirror. everything. Like get
Check
everything."
your teeth. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't that bad. And he never even warranted that.
He
That's
just
the
walked in
thing.
and was like, put his lunchbox,
he
went to the kitchen.
never ever made us feel like we needed to do that.
He never demanded it. He commanded it with his actions and his presence.
He earned it.
Yeah, beautiful, healthy fear.
Yeah.
That's how I say it. Not scared. I was never scared of him. Like, when he'd come home, I was like, oh my gosh, I was never scared. I've been scared of people before growing up. I was not scared of him, but I
Right.
feared him. That's respectful.
He's a good man.
Yes. So Casey says, I meant more of a fear of domination pushed people to believe in God rather than the love for God. So she's saying she meant more like the domination or denomination or damnation. Sorry. I fear more of damnation pushed people to believe in God rather. I don't know. I mean,
I don't think you can push people to believe.
Well, you can if
Yeah.
you get them young, but I think you're getting into into the weeds with that question, because the problem is people think God, for example, or religion was built for control. That's not possible. No positions of control are smart enough to develop such an intricate thing. What it is a natural development that then gets used against you. Like the military didn't develop GPS, but they use it every single day. The military didn't develop gunpowder. Farmers that needed it, that it was useful for them, used it. These things usually develop out of necessity, and they get hijacked and then get a bad name, right? So like firearms, for example, and gunpowder, people give it bad names, or they attach it to the wrong things. And I think religion's done the same thing. Nobody developed a religion to control people. People developed things to make sense of their natural world that are unexplainable, that ease their pain, that make explanations in a useful way and make their lives richer, hopefully. Otherwise, why would you develop it or believe in it? And it's developed over time, and then people then take that and hold it against you, right? So I think that's really more what religion is than anything. Lenore says, I don't think I fear God, but I don't see my life without him. Again, the fear is a loose word, but again, I would say this, if you're getting biblical, then the fear of God is a healthy thing and it's recommended, but teach their own, see how it works. I also think that's why it's so important. I've said this many a times this last year, that if you're going to look up to somebody, like for me, for example, I've never looked up to men, and this hit me like a literal brick wall when I turned 40 years old. I almost said 20. And when I turned 40 years old,
Wishful thinking.
and here I am walking down this mountain. I've said it many times, so I won't bore you with the whole story. Walking down a mountain, I was talking to God for hours. It was very clear to me that I was being communicated with. It was very beautiful. And it hit me like a ton of bricks right before I got back to the car, which I should have been excited to see because I was gone in the woods for days and days. And it was very uncomfortable, very hard. So I should have been excited to see the nice ice chest in my big, beautiful van with nice soft seats and air conditioning. But I wasn't. I stopped for about 15 minutes and continued my conversation. It was very powerful. So it was just super special. But what happened is, in that moment, I realized I became my dad. I became David. I did it. I did it well. And I might even dare say this because I don't mean any disrespect, but I might have done it better, which I think is what he hopes for. I don't think he would ever disagree.
Parent hopes for.
And I was like, wait, what was this about? So I stopped for about 15 minutes before I actually got to the van and just stayed in that forest and just let this sink in. And I had realized I've never respected a man in this world that wasn't God-fearing. God-fearing is a general term if you want, but we can get lost in the semantics, but I'm using it specifically because this is how I see it. I've never respected a man. He doesn't have to go to church, and he doesn't have to profess
Right.
his love to God to his friends, and he doesn't have to talk to me about it. But I
Right.
can see it. He
Totally.
he obeys the laws of God that are written into all things. You can see him living true to his path and to his purpose and to giving back and to providing and protecting and to being this rock. I've never seen that more true than David ever in my life, which I always say I'm so glad his name's David, because it's so cool that in the Bible David's highly esteemed by God. And this is, it was King David. And I just always think that that's like awesome because that's who our dad was. But it really hit me like a ton of bricks that I've never, ever looked up to a man and admired him in any measurable way that was not a God-fearing man. And that's when I just decided, I'm like, well, then don't be stupid, Josh. Like, what? Like this has been your whole life. You're 40 now. You're not a kid anymore. This is consistent. Take the message, dude. And so it just changed my life forever. I was like, stop being an idiot. So I just changed the way I used my words and the things which I understood. And so when someone says, I don't think I have to fear God to respect him, well, men like me will oftentimes teach people otherwise. Men like my dad will teach you otherwise. That healthy fear of reality and that respect for it, it doesn't have to be you're scared. It's totally different. But the God-fearing man, again, you can get into the semantics, but I think it's paramount to the quality of our existence as society and families and homes and individuals. So that's my stance on it.
Yeah.
So Lenore says maybe it's what would be life without him. Maybe it's what would my life be without him. So that's what she's saying. Maybe she fears that. Like she's like, what would my life be without him? Well, you'll never know because you can't live without him.
Right.
It's always there even if you don't believe it. Brody says, that's beautiful. Thank you, Brody. That's awesome.
You are fake news.
Just kidding. I got one. I actually got one for you. That's beautiful. There we go. All right. So I think these conversations were pretty good tonight. I think we covered a lot of ground, but really going back to the beginning, it'll be an underlying theme and really the overtones of most of my conversations in the near future, because I see the world through such a lens that shows me very vividly, and it's something I'm very passionate about, that the dynamics between men and women so that we can have healthy families hang on the thread of God-fearing men who believe in something bigger than them, so that they not only submit to them, which is not, submission is not slavery. Something a man can, by example, needs something above him so he could submit to it, so that the women can see that, respect it, and go, oh, but he doesn't do that to his boss. He's not doing that to his buddies. He's not doing it to idiots or to people that don't deserve it. He only does it to the Most High. So that's a respectful thing. And then kids see the wife respect that, and then they follow suit. And I think that's an oversimplification, but I think that is the key of what's number one, tearing our country apart. They didn't just destroy men. They cut off the connection between men and their God. That's what they did. They know that you get rid of that. Find an atheistic society who didn't believe in gods before that were powerful and successful and good. It isn't real, despite what movies and shows want to, portray that some atheistic man is like in the head of the house or the head of the household and things are running well in a society. So we can pretend we want all we want, but it's to me the premise of all that I'll do in my future, because I see that the destruction of that thread that exists will be the end result of the devastation we're starting to see today. Like, do you realize our country here in America is like on the brink of being like so fucking awesome? It is awesome already, actually, compared to a lot of places in the world. But we're like so close to this just being so rad for everybody to be here that it's remarkable. And I think that's why people are getting so desperate. People in control, government powers that be, big corporations are getting so desperate. They're like, damn, they're really close to getting this. Meaning the family structure and the way that we've been in the last 100 years, and the ability and the fortitude that we've had, the industriousness that we've had, is a threat to powers and systems, especially globally. So that you better shut these fuckers up, guys. You better get them.
Break that family up.
Yeah, but you better get in there. Get in there and do something. You see them getting strong.
Break them men down.
and to me, that's exciting, because I think we're that fucking close. Matter of fact, I think we're closer to it than ever before in getting this right. But unfortunately, I think that's that double-edged sword that's just as true, that we're super fucking close to it completely being just ripped out of our hands. So it'll most likely be my life's work and the undertones of everything I ever do. And to everybody watching, I always appreciate everybody listening and partaking in their comments. And hopefully over time this develops. I know between us, even this conversation and things we've talked about, obviously we've talked a lot in our lifetime together. This develops us as we move on, just like everybody listening and everybody joining in. This helps us over time to develop conversations, ideas, connections, bonds, whatever it is, literally just mental conceptions for us to be able to navigate life with. We are currently right now developing those things in a more sophisticated way, even if it's just by just a small margin. And then next conversation will just be that much better, that much more tight, that much more bonded. And I think that's why I say social media is kind of that double-edged sword as well. But don't get fooled into thinking that you can't take control over the situation which you're in. But don't also get fooled into thinking you can do it on your own, because you can't. Men and women don't exist without each other. Women need men. Absolutely. I'll actually leave it at that, because women need men. You don't live without them. Try to tell a bunch of Ukrainian women that they don't need men. Like, they would be destroyed right now. The country would be gone if the men just left and the women and children stayed. You absolutely do. And I think it's poisonous to send that signal into the world that we don't. And then going back to the God part, I think none of this exists without a belief in something higher. None of it exists as good as it can without that belief in something higher and greater than you. And, even like, we grew up very familiar with like AA, for example. What's one of the, what's the 10th, not commandment, what is it called? The 10th step.
Right.
Is submitting to something greater than you. It used to be to submitting to God. And I think that degradation of submitting to something greater than you, or that degradation in our society of believing in God and looking up to something in the form of like a father or a creator, I think is what's making us fall apart. And it'd be really hard to convince me otherwise, because I've lived my life opposed to that concept. And I know the fruit that it bears. And then I've also lived my life in tune with that. And I see the fruit it bears. And I will tell you, they're light years apart in terms of the experience you'll be having. So there we go. Amanda's on here. Thanks for joining us, Amanda. I don't know why you just jumped in now.
Oh, I think she's been here.
I'm just kidding. But Amanda, thanks for being on here. She's saying phenomenal episode tonight. Rochelle, you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Jeez, you guys. Everybody's just...
I just did my hair.
That's why I managed to stay single this whole time, you know?
Lenore says, me too, love it. Danbury's saying, love you guys so much. Bubba, is there anything we're missing that people were saying we should go back to? No? Lenore sending the happy faces. Thanks, Lenore. We always appreciate that. Linda, if you're out there, I've always said, Linda, you're my favorite. Linda, you're the best. And you know you mean so much to me. You're a favorite client for sure. If you guys are coming to Pumpkin Carving Night, which Rochelle will be there, I'll be there. Behind the cameras, thank you, Evan, so much for joining us. Why don't you give him a little sneak peek to the badass hat that you're wearing? Hi, guys. There you go. There's his hat. It's a dead cat on his head. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. We got the pumpkin carving coming up soon. We'll all be there. We're going to be dressed up. Everybody's going to dress up for all the questions and all the concerns of people wondering whether they should. Because nobody wants to come dressed up
I'm
as the
dressing
only
up.
one.
If anybody on here shows up not dressed up,
Yeah, you'll be the
not-
weird one. They don't want to
I
come
am
dressed
weird,
up
so-
and be the only one. They'll be like,
I
this
don't
is
care.
weird.
Actually, you know what? I don't care. Don't dress up.
Yeah,
I'll
don't
be
dress
the
up.
only
We'll be
weird
it.
one.
So dress
I am
up.
not afraid of that.
Pumpkin night will be cool. A lot of you already bought your tickets. We only have a couple days left now. It's already Wednesday, so this will be happening Friday the 13th. We'll see you guys there and carve pumpkins, gut them, listen to music, have some drinks, some good food. There will be kids. There's going to be adults. It's going to be great. And if you guys are interested to know more, then call the shop. Come into the shop or watch this episode because I shared plenty about it. Is there anything we covered, sis, that we didn't get to that you would like to say about tonight's episode? Because you're always watching from the other end.
I know.
And you don't always get to share or chime in or jump in.
I wish I was here more.
Well, you know what? In spirit. I mean, you could always call. We could always do digital. You could always show up. You could always just
not
fly
the
in.
same.
You know what? I should say this too, for those few of you that have made it this late, because this is the long episode. Actually,
time
we
is
did
it?
good.
10:15.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's 2.5 hours. One of our longest so far. The longest I think is 3. So we're doing good. But I'm gonna give you guys some good information. Casey said she just finished her costume. That's awesome.
Nice.
So I'm gonna give you guys some new information coming at you now. We have some new why do I say hosts? Guests. We have some guests coming
I thought
soon.
he was going to say hose. I got some new hose.
I do. Well, I
coming in.
definitely have some new hoes, but I'm not going to share that with you guys. That's silly. You have no idea.
Just
Socially
think of God,
experimenting.
okay?
Yep. Just remember God. Remember Dad.
Remember, God is watching.
Remember Ma. So I have some new guests coming up soon. You guys are not going to want to watch. You're not going to want to watch. Actually, you shouldn't
Please don't
watch.
watch.
shouldn't
Don't
watch
look at
it.
me right now.
No. It's gonna be so good that you guys are. If you miss it, you're gonna hate yourself forever. But we have some really cool guests coming up. I will tell you one of them is somebody. I'll tell you a little bit about the guests real quick. So one of them I'll name. His name's Juan. He owns a shop called Street Faded. He was during the shutdowns and the pandemic. He was absolutely just fucked with. And he ended up making it onto CNN, and they shit all over him. And they just talked about how this ex-Marine who now has businesses, and he's a father of, a few kids and has a wife, and thinks he's above the law and that he could just do whatever. No, he's providing for his family. So then
Yeah.
Fox News stepped in and said, hey, we want to interview you and share your story. And it was basically like, look, dude, like nobody's going to feed my family but me. And this is how I'm not going to let my businesses die. You're crazy. I fought for my country, not so I can come home and just abandon everything. It's crazy.
Shut the gyms down, but keep the liquor stores open.
Yeah, please. Yeah. And take this jab, but it's okay to like eat shit food. Like totally fine. That's not bad for your health.
Poison you in the grocery
Sure.
stores. But
Let's give you sugar and then offer your kids Ritalin because there's something wrong with Johnny
Yeah.
who can't sit. Anyway, we digress. That was some good shit. We just dispelled a lot. So anyway, Juan's going to be coming on from Street Faded. If you guys look up his barber shop on Instagram or Facebook, I think you can probably look it up anywhere online. And I would pronounce his last name, but until I actually meet him in person, I won't be able to say it because I don't want to hack it up. But he's going to be coming on here. We're going to be talking basically about that and talking about his experience, but also what it's like today in regards to it. Like, has his business gotten stronger? Has there been impacts? What do those look like? So Juan will be on here soon, and that'll be really cool. We also have a couple of other people that are coming on. Not to say Juan doesn't have his own following and his own story that's not valuable, because he does. That's why I'm bringing him on. It's remarkable what he's been able to do. But a few other guests I won't name, but I will say this in regards to their following and their impact socially and their audience and their work. I'll give you that at least. They're very. Most of you will probably know who these guys are. Actually, a lot of you will know exactly who these guys are when they come on the show. So I'm not going to say their names yet. I'm going to leave it hanging. So you know Juan's coming on, but we got plenty of exciting people coming up in the future, and I'm excited to have them on the show. That'll be really cool because it's another stepping stone towards having even better stories and adding more value to people and stories in the form of like not just help and entertainment, because I don't want to just be entertaining, but I want to be useful too. Like tonight, doing this with you really made me think, no matter what we talk about, all that matters to me, and this is actually my hook to getting people on the show, because I think it's true and it's real and it matters to me, is even if nothing transpires that's like some remarkable conversation, we're documenting a moment in time of who we are and how we think. And I think that's more powerful than people realize, to be able to look back, not just for us to see it, for our grandkids to see it, but for the world to be like, what was it like back then? Well, here you go. So I'm not afraid to speak my truth now, and who knows what it'll be in 20, 30 years.
Because my truth 10 years ago isn't my truth now, and who knows what
Hopefully
it's going to be in 10 years.
more developed.
Right.
Hopefully. I don't want to stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
Some things are great, but other things I'm working on.
I'm
So
always evolving,
let's
whether
evolve.
I make good choices or bad, but I'm going to learn from them.
So Danbury says, is there any raffle going down? I don't think so. It's a lot of work to put all this together, and I already have enough going on that, to be honest with you, it's
Yeah.
like to get to it
That
all,
was a lot.
it's difficult.
It was a lot. We couldn't even do the contest,
Right.
the costume contest.
Yep. Because by the time we were done painting and everything's said and done, people were leaving. It's like just getting the
Yeah.
raffle was actually hard because people
Yeah.
were already gone, handing us tickets saying, watch out for my ticket. I'm like, I can't look at all these
Yeah.
tickets. But
There
anyway,
there was a comment up there from Brody Jade.
from Brody Jade, who's that? Is that a long-time listener, no-time caller?
Yeah.
She says, I'm coming in Friday morning, Dambria. Dambria is coming in Friday morning. Okay, well, you come in Friday morning. I won't be there, but people will be there. Rochelle, what do you need from your partner that helps you be helpful for them? What do you need from your partner that helps you be helpful for them? A baby? Sorry.
Baby.
That makes you very helpful.
That's a tough one. You know, the things that help me to help others is to know that you're willing to help yourself. Does that make sense? So I've always been this way too. I have no problem helping people. I have a huge problem helping someone who I don't feel has already put their first foot forward.
If they're not helping themselves.
Yeah, I'm just like, fuck that. No, not doing it. I don't care if it makes me sound like a bitch or not. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know? And but I don't think that has to do with my partner. I don't know. What helps me help?
I would, if I can jump in a little.
Yeah.
I think when two people are working together, the more open you are to each other about the truth of who you are.
Right.
How can I really help you if you're not opening up? And I'm not saying you have to
Right.
tell me your whole fucking life story,
Totally.
but like what?
Some things are none of your business.
Because some people, it's not that they don't want to be honest with you, because sometimes that's the case, but oftentimes it can also be
They don't want to.
they're
be
not lying.
authentic.
Yeah, they're not trying to lie to you, but they're wrong. And now here's what I mean. Someone will say, I don't like that, or I like this. And you're not lying because you believe it, but you're wrong. So oftentimes you have to look and read between the lines and do a little bit of investigation. And I'm not talking about getting into someone's phone necessarily.
Right. No, yeah.
I'm talking about an investigation, reading between the lines and maybe trying and testing out some
Can I
things.
say something which I don't
Yeah.
know.
Say it. Just say
love-
it. We're here.
I love you,
Everybody already
husband,
left.
if
It's
you're
only 9 people
watching. Oh my
watching.
gosh.
It's only
Okay,
9
so
people. We're
my
good.
husband, right? There's been times where I actually think to myself, do you even know me? Is that weird? It's like some of the things he might say is like, you wouldn't say that if you knew me. Or you wouldn't assume that's how I roll if you knew me. I don't know. I think I'm
tricky.
being pretty vague.
Well, you're also getting really specific, which is hard when two people come together to get too specific about that because, my experience of you, Rochelle, my whole life has only existed inside my head.
Right. And vice versa, right?
Yes.
So my experience with him or him with me or me with you everybody. It's all in our own
Your
heads.
whole life
and
has
that
existed
is
inside
exactly it. That is where, like, that's why that resonated. That's why I even brought that up, because you just said that if you're real with each other and you let each other in and let each other know. But I feel like that's what's hard in relationships, is to allow that to happen. And so therefore, if that doesn't happen with that specific person, then you're just kind of left in your own little world and assuming that everybody operates the same way you do, which we don't.
So vastly different.
Derek and I are polar opposites. Opposites. But then there's some things that we come together and we're like, okay, we're pretty similar. But oh my God, are we opposite? I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he's like, snail, pace, right? Like, and whatever, so be it. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing about me going go, go, you know?
Yeah.
I work well under pressure. He does not, you know? So it's interesting.
I think what's fascinating about that and pointing out that everybody's experience that they're having, it feels like there's this big room and there's people in it and all this stuff, which there's something there. And I say something because it's not actually what you think it is. It's your experience of it, meaning like a good example, and I've said this a few times, it's so fascinating to me. It's kind of exciting and scary. When you see something, like right now, if you were to point out what the color of this bench is right here, you see a color, right? You think this bench is that color, but this bench is actually every color but that color. Because for you to see the color in which the bench is, the color has to be bouncing off your eye to your eyes to see it, which means it's not that color. That's the color it's bouncing off of it, and every other color is getting absorbed by it. So it's actually every other color but that color. But that wouldn't be useful for us to see, right? We need to see, we all need to see the same things, which is the light bouncing off of it, which means what you're looking at right now is not actually what's there. You're seeing what's useful to you. That's a fact in terms of viewing color, right? You only have receptors in your eye to be able to observe 5% of the color spectrum. There's tons of other colors that other animals and other instruments can see.
Yeah,
But
just try the fungus among us and
Yeah,
you'll know.
the fungus among us.
Just kidding. Never done it.
You'll see a lot more colors at once, but you probably won't be seeing any new colors. You'll be seeing colors in a new way, but no new colors. But what I'm saying is when you observe something, you're not actually observing it. You're observing what's useful to you about it. The same thing is true with a partner. You're not seeing your partner.
Right.
You're not meeting them. You're meeting what's useful to you about them so you can respond in a useful way so that we can interact. Now, that's getting really scientific, and you wonder, well, what does that matter to me behaviorally? Like, what does that matter about my relationship? Like, if color isn't actually, like, you see my hat and it seems green. Is that the green hat today? Yes. If you see my hat and you're like, oh, that's a green hat, and it's actually not, well, we don't. If we get lost in those semantics, then we can't communicate, because it's like, oh, nice green hat. Well, my hat isn't green. Did you know that? You can't really live that way. You can't live that way in your relationships either.
Right.
You can't say, here's what I wanted. No, here's what you said. And then you get lost into that. Instead of, there's more said than with words, right? You know that in relationships.
Yeah.
You know that in life. There's more said without words. There's more, people are letting you know a lot
Yeah.
of things, right? And to get so hung up on so many specifics is just to miss the show, right?
Right.
To get hung up on the fact that this bench is actually not this tan brown. Well, don't miss the show, though. You're the human experiencing the thing. You're experiencing it in a certain way because it's somewhat useful. It's for some reason useful to us to observe it the way we're observing it, and to get lost in the understanding of it. If that doesn't get confusing, you're basically, what I'm trying to dispel is that you're trying to understand somebody from the perspective of inside your own fucking head, which is
Right.
very limited about amount of information of who they are.
But have you ever met someone who you feel like they totally understand me?
No.
Me. And you.
So to a deeper level than others, yes.
And
Like are there people you meet that you feel deeper about
Right.
in that connection? Yes.
Right.
Some no, and some yes. There's a spectrum of it. But to really go into like, do you act? No, I don't think so. I think that there's actually, I was sharing this with somebody recently that, and especially for some of us more than others that live more in our brains in a more visceral way, right? Like you could think of dreaming. Think of people who've never had a lucid type dreaming or real
love
deep,
lucid dreaming.
let's say like real deep or like REM sleep, right?
right.
Let's say there's people who don't really dream. People admit that all the time. They don't have
Right.
dreams. And then you dream all the time, really vivid, like almost like an alternate world, right? and you wake up and that dream affects you. Like I had a dream
Right.
last night about Isabel, and she was like being super rude to me, and I saw her. It's crazy, and no one I'm saying it out
You were
loud.
mad at her?
Yes, sorry, sis. This isn't real. This is
You're
a
like,
dream,
"You were
literally.
mean."
But I saw her kissing a boy, and I almost killed him. I freaked
It's
out.
his daughter. If
Yes.
somebody doesn't know.
I saw her with this guy, and it was just innocent too. But I woke up and I wanted to call her so bad.
Oh, no.
Because I was so pissed. And it took a good 15 minutes for it to wear off. So, sis, I love you and you're not in trouble. But I was so emotionally moved by my dream. My point
Right.
is, imagine trying to explain that experience to someone who's never remembered a dream, which plenty of
Right.
people don't. So I think that's a lot like who we are inside.
Yeah.
A lot of people will never be you.
What if you do meet that person that gets you?
I think someone can get you, yes. But I don't, but there's still a you they'll never touch.
Yeah.
There's
I
something
feel
inside.
Like, right. I agree with that. I agree that everybody is such an individual
Mm-hmm.
that there is a part of us that nobody will ever.
Right. But here's also what I should say to this, because I think you've read The Power of Now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say this because this is seemingly totally off topic to all the rest of the stuff, but this is so beautiful and it still relates to relationships deeply. It is about relationships. So if you were to allegedly take some sort of substance like psilocybin, people who allegedly have done this, let's say I allegedly did this, you will realize right away one of the first things to go is your ego and your
Right.
attachments to rules.
Right.
Like, this is my drink and we're on my show and people are watching.
And that ceiling fan is going to kill
Yeah.
me.
And then all of a sudden you realize that your ego and your attachment to rules is gone. What I'm saying is everything, like, you forget about those rules. It's actually
Right.
can be very dangerous if you're in public because
Right.
you don't have limitations anymore. Like, that's another person's space. That's another.
Right.
So that all gets suspended, right? And there's plenty of people's that have had experiences with this, but also people who've reported about this, where I remember one time, allegedly, that a friend had said, "Hey man, like, whose soda is this?" Or no, whose beer? He goes, "In the fridge. Whose beer is this?" And it seemed so absurd that anybody would ever even ask whose beer that was. It's a beer. It's nobody's. That's what it is. It's a beer. But now that, in a sober mind, it doesn't seem extravagant at all because I'm locked back now into my ego, which has rules. And of course, somebody
Right.
bought it, somebody paid for it, all these rules attached to it. I guess maybe that's a poor way of trying to illustrate what I'm saying is, I think the small us, what makes up a very small actual portion of who we really are as humans, is ego and rules. And so if someone doesn't understand that, which is what we're talking about, if somebody can't peer into all your stories and all your identities.
You mean beyond the ego?
Yeah, beyond.
Beyond.
Well, what I'm saying, let's say the small you. Let's imagine there's a big you
Right. That's
and there's a
beyond
small
the
you
ego.
beyond
Okay.
the ego, and then there's a small you, which is really
is-
small. Like if your ego's a point of a piece of
Right.
sand, the real you is like the cosmos. That's
Totally.
the comparison.
Gotcha.
If you get stuck in the grain of sand and you think it's the cosmos, which is
Right.
possible, then you're stuck in the illusion of they'll never really know me.
Right.
So if we're playing the ego game, which in
I
a
hate
minute
the ego
ago I
game.
was, by saying nobody will ever really know me, nobody will ever know that piece of me. Inside there's
Right.
there is depth and there's meaning and there's purpose. But it's also a very small portion of me where there's another part of me we're all connected to always and always have been, always will be. So I think that part of us, when like you ask, like, what do you think anybody will ever really know you?
So that's what I think. Like, I think there are people out there who can look beyond ego and actually see that part.
I think everybody can. They just don't have the words for it.
Right.
And they don't know how to make sense of it. And they usually just get sucked right back into the ego. So love, for example, I've said this on here many times. People go, "Do you ever think you'll find love again?" Or I love when people do this. "Don't worry, you'll find love again." I'm like, "Why are you wishing that upon me? I see you. What 80%
Don't
of you
wish
hate
that
your
upon me.
Yeah. They're like, "Don't worry, you'll find love again. I hope you find somebody one day." I'm like, "Look at you. Are you wishing I have what you have?" Like
Right.
these people that say this, I'm like,
Love
caution.
is different.
But
It's
also
yeah.
too, I'm not limited. Like I don't have to be bound by the rules of like, you have to be in love with this type of person at this time and be with them this long for it to mean this. I have plenty of fucking love in my life. I think more than most people from what I experience and what I observe. I have tons of love, but people stuck in the little you, the ego you,
Right.
needs it to fit a category. And so therefore they get lost in thinking that that's huge, and it's not. That is a very small version of what you're experiencing. There's this other side that if you tap into it, you're not missing anything. You're completely whole and perfect. Not just perfect the way you are, not like a feel good, everybody included, but sort of, because it's
Right.
like, this is all good and I feel plenty of it. So it's actually one of those things, the book, The Power of Now, explains that once you can start to talk about these things with words, you're actually losing it. So you try to like use
Right.
words to point towards something greater than, and so you lose it. But as soon as you can use words, it makes it small.
You know what's funny that when you say that, because I've traveled the spiritual path for the last, I'd say 4 years, you know? I think my awakening started after Grayson, so now it's been about 10 years. I didn't realize it, but there's been so many times I've read so many books or listened to, ebooks or whatever. There's so many things I can't explain. And I kind of always looked at it like, well, it's because like maybe I need to read it like 2 or 3 times because my brain just is wired that way. Like I don't retain it in a way that I can teach it to you necessarily in a way that you'll understand it, but I completely understand it. And I think that's actually, now that you say that, that's probably good because I don't need to explain it. I don't need to have words for it. It just is the way that it is. And my spirituality right now is so beyond anything I can explain, and I am so good with it.
It should be, because as soon as you can explain it, you shrink it.
Right.
As soon as it becomes a word attached to it, it's actually smaller than it needs to be. So that's kind of one of my messages to people often is don't get stuck in the word. And that's actually one of the premises of the book of The Power of Now. It talks about just use words as signposts to something, not the thing itself. So when I say Rochelle, don't get stuck at the word Rochelle. Think that's just a sign in front of something greater than that word.
Right.
Like if I say tree, the word tree is not the thing. And even when I use this, gets a little confusing for people because it's a new concept for a lot of people. When I say the word tree, I'm not talking about, I'm using the word to talk about something farther and more extravagant than the word tree. It's just a sign to get us all in the same direction. And then as soon as I use the word tree to point to something past it, now I just use that to describe it. So you're going to keep going down this path of description and try to use it to attach it to something beyond it, which is the thing. And even the word and phrase, the thing, is still a limitation.
Right.
So you have to stop eventually and just...
That's it. The limitation. I feel so unlimited. Honestly. Like there may be things in life,
Can you get specific about that? I know that's hard to do when you're explaining this, but
yeah.
can you get specific? Because I think people would be really interested to hear what you actually mean and some of your experiences with it.
It's kind of hard.
Like you feel unlimited, like
So,
describe it.
I'm unlimited in me personally, not my relationship, not my, marriage or being a mom or being a working woman, but me personally, I'm so unlimited with where I am in life, with my choices in life, whether I make, like I said before, if I make good choices or bad choices, it doesn't matter to me in the aspect of I know where I am and where I'm going. And I've seen it for a long time. And I don't think I'm explaining it very well.
Would you say that your life experience, well, it's obviously a rich one, and it's obviously very meaningful. Would you say that, like, in terms of when you start talking about these things, it does get difficult, and it should be.
I've
actually.
let go.
Okay, so
I've let go of expectation. I've let go of, I guess, expectation in regards to like what I thought I wanted, what maybe I'm not getting.
like trying to control things that are just not
Right.
something that's needed.
Right. Let it go. Okay, so the world, if I'm looking on Telegram, I don't know if you know what Telegram is, but if you're looking on Telegram and you're seeing what's going on in the world that's not mainstream media, so you're getting a little more of the reality, it's like, oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, shit. Our borders. Oh, my God.
Okay, yeah.
All the things. And then I just, you prep. You buy the food. You're prepping your life, doomsday, if you will, but not to an extreme. But then I'm like, no, let it go. Let it go.
So
And
would,
you know
would you
what?
say there's two sides to it? Like to that? So like, again, I'll go back to the biblical quote, be in the world, but not of the world. So still prep, but don't let it, like the border matters,
Exactly,
but what
right.
can I do about it?
Right,
What, I mean, if I can do something, show me,
right,
I'll take action, but like, I'm not going to lose sleep. I'm not going to let it
Right.
ruin me or other people's relationships. But if it matters enough, then I'll take action, especially if there's action
Right.
I can take. Instead of
Right.
sitting for 4 hours and talking about how shitty it is and these people are
Right.
crazy. It's like, what is that?
Yeah,
What is that
don't-
doing for you?
yeah. So for me, in all aspects of life, you know, being a mom, being a wife, being a worker, being a human in society, being a sibling, being a daughter, you know, all the things, I have learned to let everything go and not expect other people to act or react in ways that I expect them to. And in turn, I live in my own world and I'm at such peace that I'm a millionaire.
I think what you're describing is something we've miscommunicated together a few times on here, which is like you mentioned one time Sheldon found his peace because he goes, I don't really worry about those things. So for context, we were just talking about life and how me personally, I'm a warrior. I'm going to fight. I'm looking for battle. I'm looking for conquering. And how Sheldon at the time was like, I don't really worry about that stuff. I found my peace. And you're like, hey, that's really cool. It sounds like Sheldon's found his peace. What gets twisted or lost a little bit in the inability to text through these things or sometimes even converse, there's still a limitation, is I have that other aspect of me that's fulfilled. So one of the reasons why I want to be, I would like to, I want to say chase because I think that's the wrong word. I would like to become the wealthy, rich, financially stable person I know I can be, not because I need that to be fulfilled. Not because that's going to make me love my kid more or feel better about my life or look in the mirror and like that guy more. I'm not trying to fulfill that need. So I'm not trying to get YouTube views and build these shows because I want attention and validation and messages afterwards, which I always get and always appreciate. Somebody encouraging me saying, good job. That's awesome. That's really good. It's not why I do it. I'm not doing it because I need those to validate me. But that doesn't mean that the things I'm getting, like more money, more compliments, more support, those things are great. But I'm not doing them because I need them. I'm getting them because I don't need them. And what I'm doing essentially is I've already lived my life well enough that it'd be really cool. I've done the parenting thing. I'm doing the parenting thing. I love my family and the relationships that I have. And a lot of people don't have that. They might have financial stability or wealth or a little bit of stuff, but they're missing this. And it's like, I feel like I've already won the lottery.
Right.
I've won the lottery of lotteries. We really all have. But I've done my life in a way that makes me really excited to see the opportunities I have in the future, not to fulfill some void, but just to fulfill the potential I was granted, right? Like I have the ability to do better. It's kind of like getting stronger. It's really cool to see yourself adapt to physically getting stronger. Just like it's really cool to see yourself adapt to and build a business that can make you more money. You could do more of the things you loved. I couldn't do this stuff if I wasn't making enough money to afford it, right? That's what I'm looking for. So what I'm saying is in that, and that's all egotistical stuff. I'm serving the smaller me, which we have to do. You want to stay alive.
Well, we're
You want to
human.
operate in the
We
world.
have- yeah.
Yes. But then the other side of me is so fulfilled already, so
Right.
satisfied. Like when people
But
say
it's
it,
just cherries on top.
that's it. And so why
Right.
not chase it? I think everybody else is saying it's not about money and cars and fitness and, abs or hot chicks or whatever people try to diminish. They say it's not like they say it's about the journey, not the destination. Wrong. It's about all of it, but appropriately. So don't assign roles to things in life like looks and beauty and money where your love and respect and your spirit should be. Don't try to fulfill those buckets with the wrong thing, right? You do that and you're going to be super unhappy. If you're looking for validation, for example, through somebody, you're always going to be let down. You should be not looking for validation from somebody, but from yourself. Do I say something and stick to my word and get it done, right? Does my word have any meaning at all? Can I trust myself that when I stand up for something that it's proves to be true, right, or just? Like, can you trust you? Do you believe in you? That if you can live that life, man, you're doing pretty good. And then so, like you said, everything else is a cherry on top. So a lot of people will say it's not about the cars, not about the money, not about the looks. Well, all they're doing is medicating. I hate to say this way, but it's meant to be straightforward. You're medicating your miserable lives because your brain has to make up a story of why it is you'll never get it, because otherwise it'd be too painful to suffer, knowing you could get it, because we all can. I'm no more special than anybody else. So people will ask me a lot, how do you do X, Y, or Z? Like, how are you so this way or that way? Like, how do you do it? I wish I was more like you, which I take as a compliment. It's also a double-edged sword, because I'm like, that sucks that you don't. I am no different than you, and you are no different than I. We're just a series of different decisions based off our beliefs. So anyway, what I'm saying is I have found my peace. Like when Sheldon's like, don't worry about those things. When I say I do, I actually use anger and rage often in my life. And people are like, oh, that sounds so sad. No. I'm talking about in the space, in the realm of the ego. I use it as fuel and as to push me. But in my actual life, I don't want to say I have it nailed. There's always more to learn and to experience. But I'm doing well enough there that I can then decide in my egotistical life to go for these things and it not get in the way of the quality of my, I'd say more, I call it the cosmic self. Your cosmic self is huge. It's bounded and by, it's written into the fabric of all things, right? I'll end it with this because there's so much to it. But if you've ever heard of the definition of, I think Einstein was talking about it when he said this, he called it the spooky action at a distance, but now there's this thing called quantum entanglement. It's really basic, even though it's a really complicated thing. It's easy to explain this way. And there's, when you move, I think it's atoms or when you take, it's in quantum physics. There's a word, quarks. I believe it could be quarks. Don't quote me, but atoms are made up of things, and those things are made up of things, and whatever goes a little bit smaller. When you split them and you have them apart from each other, but you change the characteristics of one, let's say its behavior, the other one mirrors it perfectly, instantly. And then if you were to take that same particle and put it light years away, it doesn't matter how far, and you move this one, it still instantly is communicating
because it is
with this one.
It is it.
They're forever entangled.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I think there's more to life like that we're all experiencing if you allow the little you to be just this tiny like grain of sand in the whole cosmos, like your ego, your rules, your identity, who you are, what your name is, making money, being tall, being short, being fat, being stupid, smart, whatever, famous, not famous, dorky, young, old. All those metrics are just the little you. Trust me, it's the little you. It's a grain of sand in the whole cosmos. But you're always connected to this bigger you. Mm-hmm. The problem is when you're this greater you, this cosmic you, which is boundless and unlimited. It's quantumly entangled to all things, always, always has been, always will be. Which is probably my favorite thing about the Bibles. God says, I always have been and always will be. I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And you're made in my image, which you're the cosmos, aware of itself, literally made in God's image. I think that the most beautiful part about that is you can be your cosmic self always and aware of your ego and operate in it. But you can unfortunately also be sucked into your tiny ego and forget all about your cosmic self. Mm-hmm. But when you're your cosmic self, you're not unaware of your ego. So that's where I live. That's why when I say that I'm ran by anger and rage or desire or frustration, because I'm frustrated all the time, because I'm always pushing, pushing my envelope, but not in my cosmic self. My cosmic self is already full. I'm pushing it in my egotistical self. So I don't mind doing that. It's my small me anyway. So when I feel overwhelmed or frustrated, I just remember, oh yeah, this is like this is not that big.
Yeah.
So stop making little things seem big that aren't appropriate and start making things that should seem bigger, but you make small, more appropriate.
The universe will test us.
Guaranteed.
And
it's going to push us for sure.
It's more or less testing the ego.
Yeah, it can't test our cosmic self. It's already there. It's already it's the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, connected to all things, always has been. And where's it going? It's not going or coming or doing anything. It's always been. So I think of it as like this. We're all connected to it. Like I think of quantum entanglement. Let's just say, and I don't know that this is true. It's just a thought in my head, a thought experiment, if you will. Let's say quantum entanglement, because it's true and it's real, and it's able to be demonstrated. Let's say you have material that makes you up, right? We all do. And let's say it's connected to material all across the cosmos, and it's quantumly entangled. Mm-hmm. And say there's even more sophisticated shit than that happening, like alternate universes and shit like that. You can get lost in.
All that.
We're all there's like Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. There's this crazy shit going on that you can communicate with. And once you use words to describe it, it really doesn't do it a service. So you have to just be and just exist. Like meditation helps and music helps, and things without words a lot of times are more powerful. So that's my opinion. Don't get lost in your ego, because your ego will forget all about your cosmic self. The great thing about the cosmic self is you could do no wrong, because it's always aware that it has this tiny little grain of sand of ego in the cosmos. That's the you. And that's a way better place to be. So I don't mind being frustrated, because where does that frustration exist? And the frustration exists in the little me. That's okay, because this grander me is just fine. It's doing just great. Don't need anything. The grander self doesn't. So I don't mind operating there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope that makes a lot of sense to people watching. If it doesn't, I apologize. But there's so much more to that. I've always wanted to dedicate, like, and even if it's not live, hours and hours to explaining this deeper, because one example or two examples is hard. It's more of like a train of thought you have to have throughout, and then tell stories through that train of thought, so that you can really get. It's like a book as one message, but it talks 250 pages to express that message.
A whole book on it. Have you ever heard of twin flames?
I have, yeah.
So when you were just talking about the atoms and all that,
Makes all the sense in the world.
Right?
Well, think about it. The oldest material, the most abundant material in the known universe is hydrogen and oxygen, which mixed together makes water. It's the most abundant resource in the known universe, right? And just so happens it's the foundation and the building blocks of life. The most abundant thing just so happens to be, the most common thing you find just happens to be the building blocks of what we are. And so on and so forth too. We're not made up of super complex elements. There are complex elements. We're not made up of them. We're made up of the simplest shit that's been around since the beginning of all things, or maybe always has been, always will be. It's not going anywhere, depending on how you want to word it or look at it. So if we're made up of these ancient pieces of material, like all of us right now sitting here are made up of atoms that formed in stars. So star guts, right? I've heard this explained before perfectly by many people. I think Carl Sagan was one of the first persons to say it in a show, I believe, back in the day called Star Talk in the 70s. And he had said, essentially, we're all star guts. Like what makes everything that makes you up was formed in the nuclear fusion.
Star gut.
Yeah, we're star guts. And so that didn't come from like around the corner. Like this came from infinite amounts of time, over infinite amounts of time and infinite amounts of space. For you to collect here like a dust bunny, super oversimplification, to be here now going, what is this? And you're the cosmos literally aware of itself.
I love it.
So that right there is you tapping into your cosmic being.
Right.
There's no...
And that's where I found my peace. I feel like I have tapped into that. Even, in life when things aren't going my way or things, whatever, none of it really matters to me.
Right. I mean, it matters appropriately.
Exactly.
Right? Like it matters that your hair looks good.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
I like fashion. I like,
But that matters.
That's
like a grain of sand in
little,
the cosmos.
Right.
That's appropriate.
Being a mom is my most important thing. That's, but in all other aspects of life, it's such a grain.
It's so deep and it's so hard to explain and so hard to think through these things, but I love doing it. I do it all the time. Like this is nothing unusual for us. We've done this till 4 or 5 in the morning and you have to go, because I never get tired. I could do this. I probably could do this forever.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when I asked that to Isabel. I've said the story again many times on here, but I always like to ask people this. I learned this through tattooing and being intimate with people in a long form session of tattooing, for years and years, last 20 years and 6 to 7, 8 hours plus, and multiple times a year, I get to know these people, humans, in a more intimate way. And what I love to ask them is, what is the thing that when you're doing it, you feel so good that even if you weren't getting paid, even if somebody told you not to, they made fun of you, they tried to take it, you got locked up. What is, you're put away in a cell with no light. What is the thing that if you could do it, you could do it forever? And people have to often ask you to stop. Or maybe they don't want to ask you to stop, but you can see that you probably should. What is the thing that when you're doing it, you actually have to remind yourself, I need to sleep. I should probably eat too. What is that thing that when you're doing it, you feel so alive and so that it doesn't have to be work, it doesn't have to be a craft, there's no rules. But what is that thing that when you're doing it makes you feel like you're right where you belong, and there's no time, there's no sleep, there's no food, you're just like on it. For everybody, it's going to be slightly different. And I love to ask people that because they're like, I don't know. But you do a little bit of work, a little bit of finessing, and ask a little deeper and some more leading questions. And you know what everybody does? You know what? I know what it is. And it's like, dang, that was on the back burner? That thing is on the back burner? But if I were to say, have you ever seen the show, The Kardashians? You already have the word in your head, right? You already got it. You already have an emotion attached to them. You already have a feeling inside going, I watched it, but I don't like it. It's visceral to you. But your own dreams, desires aren't.
Because so many people, we're just so conditioned to look outside for everything else versus looking inside.
We're getting sold.
Yeah.
You're being sold.
We're consumers.
Yep, you're being sold. They've turned you effectively into the
We're
complete
consuming
consumers.
slaves
Yeah, we're robotic consumers for sure.
versus the cosmos that we
See where this went,
actually
guys?
are.
See where this went after a couple hours? You know what? I bet you if we go past that 2 hours to 2.5 hours, every single episode, this is probably where it goes. Every time. And I love it because I think this is it.
After our episode, the one time we sat there for hours talking, we're like, man, this should be recorded.
And this is usually what we do on the after hours. So to me, this is the real conversation. But it takes a lot of build up, a lot of, like I said earlier, about the community and the conversations that we're having and the connections, whether it's viewers or us or whoever's involved. This is the building blocks for those conversations to be more sophisticated and clear in the future so we can communicate at a deeper level. You can't just come on a video and start talking. It's hard to do. And start talking about these kind of things with no context to a group and an audience that's never heard of you. It's very difficult. Like, we all have had those experiences. We watch something or hear something, or typically not conversations today. They'll seem very PG-13 now. Everybody's so scared. But in videos, you'll get a clip or a cut of something or a soundbite of something. You're like, that rubs me wrong, but I'm interested to look deeper. And then you have to sophisticate yourself with this concept, and it takes time. I think that's what we're doing here, and that's why I think it's so special and important. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Rochelle, thank you. Evan, behind the camera, you wanna give us a little peace out? You wanna give us any love? You wanna say something?
Hours. Holy shit, 3 hours.
Yeah, no, we did it. We absolutely did it.
Yep. Thanks for sitting.
Right on.
Sitting there.
Thanks for being the camera audio operator, Evan. You did great.
And thanks for picking me up from the airport, guys.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody that joined us tonight. Rochelle, it's awesome to have you. It's going to be really cool to do pumpkin carving night and actually hang out all weekend as well. Thanks for flying in and going straight into here and going straight into this. You probably feel like a little bit of a celebrity. You're like, you got off the plane, got a show to get on.
No, you know what?
I was hoping on the airplane you told somebody. It's like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Fresno. I got this live show to do.
Oh my gosh. No, you know what? Up in the airplane, and I was looking down at the clouds. I was literally like, this is what life's all about. I was just people watching and looking at people, and I felt so good. I needed this, you know?
Like Brody J just said, people are stuck in the Coliseum.
It's true.
That's what gets, you get sold the Coliseum. Guys, thank you so much. Ladies, friends, family, everybody that joined us. I want to say this. Thank you so very much for joining us this long. It's already been 3 hours and 11 minutes. We have 101 hearts, 19 thumbs up, which isn't enough. We need more 19 thumbs. More thumbs up should have happened, but next time you guys you'll have our back. But I appreciate you. I hope you got something out of this. Obviously you did if you're watching, but anybody in the future watching this, every episode we do is Wednesday at 7:30. We have some guests coming in the future. They're going to be amazing. Not to disclude my sister here, Rochelle Renee. You always see her in the comments, but now you get to see her for the first time in this set, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think this is cooler than what we did, like a year ago? You came on the
No,
set?
it was April.
Because the desk was right here facing this wall, but it wasn't all set
It
up.
was for Greg's memorial in April.
Wow. It wasn't that long
I've
ago.
been here 3 times this year.
I know, what are you doing? Someone wants to be famous.
I'm on vacations.
Yeah. So
I'm living life.
you guys know I appreciate you. Evan's going to give us some outro music on the A10 top left corner. And yeah, you got it, Bubba. Bubba's our sound engineer. That's my son. And he's doing really great.
That's why I managed to stay single this whole time, you know?
But thank you guys so very much, actually, for tonight and joining us and jumping in the comment section. I always say this, but the show is made up of you guys on the live stream. Some of the guests in the future, I always make it a point to try to get to the comments and to
Yeah,
try
we
to
got a little
gauge.
deep. We looked at it.
We
You
did,
know.
but we weren't. That's how it goes, and I think on the other end it's probably obvious. Thank you guys so very much. It's been a good night. Evan, we'll do a nice little fade on the mini if he's not paying attention. He doesn't know how to do it. You don't know how to fade to black. It literally says FTB.
Good song.
So Evan's gonna fade us out, and the FTB is now coming on. Thank you guys so very much. It's been real. It's been fun, and actually, it's been real fun.
It's been real fun.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Have a good night, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Very cool.